Let's get started.
Now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
Do not attempt to adjust your dial. I'm transmitting live. Yo,
Let's get down to business.
Now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
for the underground world, every street and borough.
You may learn something.
Experience.
You are now listening to the Joe Rogan Experience with Chico, Simon, Kamar, and your host, Matt Floyd.
Welcome to the Joe Rogan Experience. My name is Matt Floyd, joined as always by Kamar
Welcome to the party.
and Simon.
Hello.
What we do here is very simple. The three of us have listened to every episode of the Joe Rogan Experience this week. We're going to rate each episode as well as the week on a scale of 1 to 5 Jamie Vernon's. We're then going to talk about each guest, the talking points, give our opinions, this, that, and the next. But first, Kamar, I know we have new patrons.
Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. If you can't do anything, make a clip. Get it out there on the tube.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Join the Patreon for the post show. This week, a big shout out to Rick Black.
Rick
Yeah,
Black.
Ricky.
What up? Thank you so much, Rick.
And when you thought it was over, it was followed by Thomas Noga. Keep on coming down.
Thomas,
My
no
man,
Way
Thomas.
to go. Thank you so much.
Shout out.
And then out of nowhere, we want to get in before daylight savings. Eric.
My man, Eric.
Eric, thank you so much. I hope you appreciate the extra hour of sleep we gave you today.
Shout out to all of you. You're the real ones.
And I hope you appreciate the value you're getting out of this.
They don't.
That's
everyone,
it?
No, everyone who is not part of the Patreon yet.
Got spoiled after last week.
Do you want to go over the guest list so we can rate the week?
Oh,
Do what we do here. That's usually what you
We
say.
start off the week with 2220, Francis Foster and Constantine Kissin.
It's weird that the times where I think you're not listening the most, you actually might be listening. And the times where I'm certain you're dialed in and listening, you're not hearing a word of what I'm saying.
Constantine, Kissing. And
Yeah.
2221, J.D. Vance, the other head of the two-headed snake.
Who called that?
did he? I don't remember him calling that. But I
That's
know
because you don't listen to what
I
I'm saying.
noticed that every time somebody's on, you seem to say that you called it. So, I mean, if you just call everyone,
what's
then
the deal?
odds
What's
are
the deal
that-
today with you? No,
What's
honestly.
the deal with mashed potatoes?
He comes in with you. You guys are the funniest comedy duo on earth. Like, because again, he's like, "Oh, so Kamara, laugh at me. All my fucking shit's funny." You guys are fucking morons.
We should have asked
Shut up, Kamara. Just shut up.
We should have asked you to do lighting or something. Oh my God. I thought
This is coming from a guy whose best friend online is a dude who laughs at absolutely everything.
Look at this. This guy came in today with fucking vile, like
you
a
throwing
real
shade
piece of
and
shit.
staring at me.
No, he's throwing shade at me.
Yeah,
you
but
guys
he-
are best
I'm looking
friends.
at
But he was
you.
making
Yeah.
eye
Yeah,
contact
like the
with me.
cardboard. Yeah.
Direct
Weirdness.
eye contact with you while I was tearing Matt down.
Tearing Matt down. What a fucking loser.
Anyways,
At least I have friends.
We'll take it. We'll be right back.
Online friends.
Change your tampons. 2222, John Fetterman. The other side of the coin, as one would.
There's a lot of the other sides of the coin today, eh? Oh no, that was the other snake of the head of the snake.
The other side of the coin, he brings on one slightly left-leaning person before the election, and that's what you say?
Time cometh.
You're an idiot.
Is like we definitely need to get an alternate opinion on here to balance things out. Let's bring on a stroke victim.
Yeah, I'll know who is reading what they're telling you off a teleprompter.
Closed caption off his actually that's kind of cool. I watch all my shows with the subtitles on, but I never thought of bringing my iPad and just as you guys talk the subtitles come on. That might keep me really fucking engaged.
I doubt it.
Probably, though. No, it might.
Probably, yeah.
In any event, yeah, the other side of the coin, and I guess this will be the end till the big election. So
On Tuesday, is that right?
right now, yeah, happy election, everyone.
Happy election.
By the time you hear this, either Kamala or Trump will be president.
No,
There.
the election's-
There, I said it.
I don't think that's how it's
The
gonna
election's Tuesday.
You think a third person can win?
be. Well, no, they're saying it could, as they said last election, it could take 3 or 4 days.
For Trump to decide that the
All the
election
mail-in
wasn't
ballots or
faked?
all these things. Well, exactly. But we were saying who runs elections because it can't be the government, right? There's got to be a branch of government that has no oversight.
Well, it was always like old lady volunteers, wasn't it, who were counting the ballots?
Have we started one yet, or are you just talking about the
No. How do you guys rate the whole week? I guess.
What's the lowest score we can possibly give? A 0?
I don't know. I'll give it a
1. Okay, I'm not afraid to say that.
I'll give it a 0.5, and I'm not afraid to say that.
I'll give it a 2.
Well, that is super generous.
Try. Go ahead, Kumar. Fire it up.
2220, Francis Foster and Konstantin Kisin, otherwise known as trigonometry. An immigrant's love letter to the West. Was Konstantin Kisin's book.
And yeah, just so that the people listening know, I found out through listening to Sam Tripoli's podcast that he has a Eddie Bravo episode in the bag. That would have been nice this week to balance things out a little bit. You know what I mean?
That would have been amazing tea for the post Joe, which you get if you join the Patreon.
Again, he's not going to do that because why would you? You can't have Trump and JD Vance on just before an election and then be like, oh, I also brought on my flat earth friend who's going to tell you that this is all a sham. Mm-hmm. It takes away all the legitimacy of the Trump interview.
And he may have been referring to, Simon, the...
Yes, Kumar.
Well, no, to make sure you're listening, the fight companion.
That's not what he was. Oh, maybe he was. Who knows?
The split second.
Now that
there,
you
took
said
1
that,
second.
that's true. Maybe that was
And
the case.
if you do listen to Fight Companion, Eddie gives him good pushback on quantum computers, which is vintage, because Joe is coming right off the heels of who was the guy? Fox? We just had on Cox.
Yeah, Brian Cox.
Brian Cox. Gallic. And he was telling him about quantum computers, and Joe, and Eddie was the old, oh, really, Joe? Oh, really? Anyway, yeah, trigonometry, the swing of the liberals. Misinformation obviously is subjective.
Go on.
When it's the case of the information that is true but harmful to the... Did we decide that that was not a thing we necessarily accept as individuals, but that is used?
What the fuck are you
Yeah,
talking
what
about?
are you talking about?
Misinformation, disinformation. Information that's true, but it's harmful to the public or something.
What's that? What information is that?
You've never heard these terms before in your life. That's how you're looking at me right now.
No, I'm asking.
know exactly what I'm talking
Can you
about.
give me an example?
Masks don't do anything.
It's true, but it's harmful to the good one, Kumar. So that's disinformation?
I'm not sure. It's just the arise of this is what they
How
were
about this?
talking
What is the difference?
Misinformation is wrong information.
Lies.
And disinformation is right information that can harm, like Kumar just said.
Could
Do
be
you believe
detrimental,
that?
maybe. Do I believe that those things exist?
Well, no. Do you think that's the actual definition? Are you certain of
I
that?
do.
I've heard our
I'm
prime
as-
minister use it.
I'm as certain as I can be without actually
Hold on,
looking
hold
it
on.
up.
You've heard our prime minister use it. What does that mean? He was a
Say,
fucking idiot.
We have to fight disinformation and misinformation. He believes it exists, so it's got to be.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying that forget it.
I'm going to look it up right now. Man.
Crazy. What was your point, Kumar? Misinformation, disinformation.
He just wanted to know if we believe in
it's
it.
so subjective. Like, who is the arbiter of what is what? There is-
Arbiter.
Well, usually
Is that
time
a
is.
person who cuts trees?
maybe.
Like, it's not misinformation if you truly believe it to be true, right?
And that would then again be subjective.
Can I give you the definition, Matt? Misinformation refers to false information that is not intended to cause harm.
Hold on, that's misinformation?
Misinformation.
So you guys were wrong. Okay.
I got it backwards. Disinformation refers to the false information that is intended to manipulate, cause damage, and guide people, organizations, and countries in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So it's just lies.
Yeah, whereas misinformation is I didn't have it right. Get it?
Misinformation is false or inaccurate information, getting the facts wrong.
that's
Disinformation
what I
is
said,
false information, which is deliberately intended to mislead,
Yeah.
intentionally misstating the facts.
That's conspiracy theories.
Well, no, not necessarily.
But all that is subjective. To say Trump, Well, it isn't.
None of it is.
So
Yeah, no, all of it is. Who
is.
decides, Kamar? You're absolutely right.
Okay,
Who is the what did you say?
Arbiter.
The tree cutter
yes.
of who makes these decisions?
At the end of the day, especially on a national level.
Yeah, like something like the masks, for example. Okay, so you get on your computer, your little keyboard, and you write, "Masks don't work," which is true. Where does that fit into the whole thing?
Well, they do work. They keep spittle out of food and
They
people's
don't work
bodies.
to stop the transmission of COVID.
Or something that's aerosol type thing. Yeah.
The masks don't work. We're just going off what Joe says, right?
Yeah. And yeah.
I mean,
Okay. So we're now taking
Well,
all
no,
of our
no,
information
no,
from
hold
Joe.
on.
The N95
We're
was a
going
better mask.
Joe Fauci also said the same thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing: like we all agreed that if I'm a spit talker and I wear a mask, there's going to be far less spit hitting your face from my mouth.
Yes.
That was
So
my point. Yeah.
From that alone, like no matter what Joe said or Fauci for that matter, I have a tough time believing that masks had zero effect. It can't be zero. That's almost impossible, right? Just from
I agree
just from a
completely.
logical
That
standpoint.
was my stance the whole time. From a logical point of view, just the idea that you're stopping somebody from spitting on you will probably help.
Yeah, like if Joe's whole thing was, oh, I saw a guy online vaping through the mask, and it's like, okay, I mean, again, I don't think any of us I never said masks are 100% going to stop you from getting COVID, but I think they had some effect.
Well, it's important to establish that they do have some, because if they are giving a false sense of security, that would be detrimental. And if there are side effects of doing it for prolonged periods of time.
Like I think masks had more effect than the
Vaccine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
People still wear masks.
It drives me insane when I see that now. Doesn't it bother you now when you see somebody wearing a mask?
That's so funny.
Driving
you were,
around in their
you were,
car with
you
a
were,
mask.
You were like ratting your neighbor out for not wearing a mask
No, I
during
wasn't.
COVID. Yes, you were.
I didn't care about the masks.
Wow. How you find stuff out just like this.
What are you talking about? Come on, during COVID, he came in here multiple times and was like, I was at Canadian Tire. Everyone's got a mask. This one guy doesn't have a mask, and I just want to go over and say to him, like,
I don't think I ever said that. I think you can
I
go
can't wait
back
to pull it
and
up.
all.
I'm going to actually have to spend hours this week,
to
unfortunately.
do some work for you because that doesn't exist.
I'm trying to
What
Men in
else
Black.
did you get wrong today? Because just add it to the list. What was the first thing? I'm
DeMar DeRozan.
Oh, DeMar DeRozan didn't
Gives
win a cup.
Fuck.
Didn't win a. It's not a cup.
It's a chip.
a ball.
Just call it a chip.
It's not a chip. It's a fucking pyramid with a flat top and a basketball on it.
Go ahead, Kumar.
You must admit that Trump is he's on speed, whatever it is, he's pretty resilient.
Why? Because he got shot. And
Well, no,
got up?
you see people crumble enough bad comments or people say bad things about them. I mean, in all spheres of social media and whatnot, right?
Why do we care?
Why do we care?
Yeah.
People who can, through everything, just persevere. I don't know. Maybe it's a sign of strength, whereas Joe Biden is not there at all.
I find that Trump seems not there at all.
I think
either.
so too, and that's sort of his rambling in that 3-hour.
It's a weird thing where you're saying-
Watching him dance, I swear to God, was like watching my grandfather. You know what I mean? Just totally forgot where he was for a second and just jamming out to his playlist.
I mean, it is dangerous given his age that the right has gone so after Joe Biden. Like, what happens if 2 years in? What happens if Trump wins and 2 years in he starts going fucking totally senile?
What if he wins and
answer's nothing.
he goes, I'm out, JD Vance. I'm passing on JD Vance. They do the same thing that they just did.
JD Vance,
Well, that's my point.
Would that be good? That'd be amazing. That'd be sort of. Well, we'll see how we feel about.
are
JD
we
Vance.
talking about JD Vance right now?
No, we're not. We're talking about trigonometry.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, if he goes totally senile and blows up the world, then fuck.
Do they
Really,
talk
I didn't
about?
vote for him.
Do they talk about any math on trigonometry?
No.
No.
But the point was being.
It's trigonometry.
Oh, it's trigonometry. So
po-
do they talk about guns?
No, it's like you've been triggered, you
I
snowflake.
see.
Trigonometry, I believe, is how it's.
The point that
that's
was
the play they're
made
going
is
for.
that Joe Biden is not there. Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, don't try to see where I'm going with it. Kamala Harris
We won't.
is campaigning every single day.
Okay.
I disagree with that, but okay.
Go on.
Or she's in the office, like looking at Ukraine, looking at Israel, working on this stuff around the clock. Like,
Well, she obviously can't be doing that.
so
'cause
she's not doing that. So
she's
not
out
doing
there.
that. Exactly. So someone is running everything.
Hold on, wait. What are you doing right now? That happens to every
What am I-
president. Stop. Every single president in the history of presidency,
Yeah.
this has happened to at the end of a term.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when Donald Trump was at the end of his term, he
Yeah.
was out
So
doing
there's
this
a
too.
mechanism for campaigning.
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
my point is
agreed.
just-
but as long as they're running, so it's not every president. I see. Everyone who is running is what you were
Yes,
saying.
unless
Yeah,
you,
gotcha.
unless you have already run your two terms.
And the vice-
We're in the same position as Joe Biden versus Trump 4 years ago.
Precisely. You could just argue your one argument you could make is that there is no president right now.
So their point was invalid.
Well, listen, if there's really a problem, you don't think they can get Kamala back to the White House in
Of course.
Tuto Sweeto, you know?
I'm just Kamar, yeah. their
Or
whole-
she can't make a decision from where she is. Sorry, Matt.
I just find a lot of these arguments odd because, yes, they're like the government runs without the president.
On vacation or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh, that's just so stupid. Kamala can't be doing her job properly because she's out trying to become president. Fuck
that's
you.
that's what I'm saying. Is it's a weird like
It's
you
a
wouldn't do
stupid
this to
Fox
Trump.
News flex.
Yeah, you wouldn't do this to
Well,
Trump.
no,
4
they
years
did
ago.
do it to Trump. They said he was out golfing.
I said
and
these
blah, blah,
guys.
blah. Oh.
These guys would. And again, I don't want to do this. The reason they did that to Trump so hard was because he spent the whole Obama presidency being like, this guy's taken more vacations than any president ever. He's had the least days in office. And then when Trump took office, he golfed more than any president. And again,
He's
I
not a
don't,
real American.
I don't care about any of that. Like if you listen,
What's his middle name?
you know what? It's weird. It's like I remember I had a teacher in high school who was like, "Listen, I don't care if you don't show up. You can miss every class, yeah, as long as you do well." Like he's like, if you miss every class but you get an 80 on the final exam, what do I give a shit? But he's like, I doubt you're going to be able to do that. So the point is like, if the work's getting done, I don't really give a shit whether you're here or not, kind of deal. So if, I don't care if you're golfing a lot as the president. I think you can probably do that job from the golf course. What else you got, Kamar?
Do you remember when or maybe it doesn't matter to you still, politics?
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter to you either.
What are you saying? You said, do you remember? It probably doesn't matter to you. Politics. Like that's like one of those Japanese T-shirts that just use random American words. Fun now.
They were
Plumber.
saying they were
Politics.
saying they remember, or they thought they remembered a time when politics was like this thing that you heard about, but you just didn't care.
Like when we were young, you mean?
I guess it'd be younger. I know when I was 27, I didn't care about this stuff.
I mean,
at all.
listen, politics has become way more like commonplace, I think, for people to talk about.
I think it's an age thing.
Most people used to just like, you didn't ask them about their politics the same way you didn't ask them about their religion or their gender choices, or like people kept most shit to themselves. And then a thing called social media came along, and all of a sudden everyone decided that everybody had to know everybody else's opinion and stance on just about fucking everything.
And I fear I will not go back to that time before.
You will not go back to that time. It
Well,
would,
you're also
it would take an EMP blast for us to go back to that time.
No, it's like you said, the age thing. Like listen, when you're 24, you don't make enough money to give a shit about the economy, about who's been in charge. None of that matters.
It's
All
this-
you care about when you were 20, are they going to legalize pot?
It's the same idea as time seems to be going by faster now, Kamar, because when you're young, you don't give a fuck about time because time is endless. And when you're halfway through your life, time is very important.
I posed this question when I was listening to JD Vance one, but I'll ask it now.
You pose this question to who, yourself?
Yes.
Nice. I like that. Kamar,
He's
what
in
do
the
you
mirror.
think about this?
Kamar.
Should you not be able to vote?
Staring out the window.
Should you not be able to vote till you're 25? And the argument, hey, young people matter too, but no, you don't. Fuck.
Well, at least that way you wouldn't get all this like, let's make sure we get Kamala on Saturday Night Live so we can appeal to the 12-year-olds. You know what I mean? Just fuck.
Yeah, but
No, the problem with that is, what is the problem with that? Why is there a problem with that? 25 years old
Because
vote.
the
Well, the
stuff
problem
that
with that is-
matters affects. I
If
think
your brain isn't even formed until
you
you're
could
25.
be forced to fight in a war.
The problem, Simon, is that there's morons that are my age that still get to vote, and there are. So you would like.
At least they've lived enough of a life that, you know what I mean? You have a 18-year-old kid. How old do you have to be to vote? 19? 18?
18.
17?
I bet if you pulled up the numbers of 18 to 25-year-olds that are voting, it's probably the lowest demographic anyway. I bet.
Yeah,
I bet
most
you
of
have
them.
nothing to worry about.
Yeah, and that's why they're chasing them. But that seems awfully young to vote.
But I can remember like not caring about voting because I didn't even know who was running for prime minister, you know what I mean? And then you get to a certain age where it matters because this guy's taxing you more or whatever the case is. And
Anyways,
We're forgetting too that when we were young, it didn't really matter
didn't
because
really
the price
matter.
of a house didn't go up 10x in
That's
5
right.
years. So like who you voted for had
Didn't
very
really- yeah.
little. Like it mattered a bit. Maybe gas went up a few cents. Groceries were a little bit more expensive. But what we've seen in our lifetime is like, oh, if you vote for this guy, you won't be able to afford a house in 10 years. Like definitively, no one will be able to.
you know what? I imagine that it would have been the same with either.
You're probably right,
party in
Simon.
power.
I don't
I'm
know,
not-
man. The immigration.
No, I think commerce stops for no man and for no party. You know what I mean? That machine, the machine that
I mean,
that
Kamar,
pushes forward.
your argument would imply that for the 12 years that Stephen, or 15 years that Stephen Harper was in power, that we were like a rich and powerful country. We weren't.
No, it just would not have had such a robust immigration
I think
quota or whatever.
I'm with Simon. I think that's all by design, and I think it's bigger than us. We're not the only country that's done it or that's doing it. Like outside of Poland, every civilized country on earth has taken in 10x the normal amount of.
You know,
And they're saying it's necessary.
You know, in Kamar's defense here, I see a direct correlation between the countries who are doing it, very lax immigration policies, and the countries with leaders coming out of the World Economic Forum school. France, Canada.
That's two.
who else?
You're doing great. There's 196 left, Simon. You got this, buddy.
Well, listen, I haven't looked into it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but if you want to play that game, then when Trump gets in, he's got World Economic Forum people in his cabinet.
Who?
Tulsi Gabbard.
That's a problem.
It is a
That
problem
is,
because
and
she's my
Tulsi
hero.
Gabbard
She's my
is,
hero. Tulsi.
She is not your hero. Why is she your hero?
If you
Because
listen to
she's
this
hot,
podcast,
she
I've
has-
said this from the get-go. So
You have not
my hero.
said that from that. You should pull up, Matt.
Listeners,
because
do
that's
it.
not.
Have you not
true.
seen his Tulsi Gabbard tramp stamp?
I'm embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed for you.
I'm
Well,
embarrassed
here's the
for you,
meat
too.
and potatoes of the podcast. So Joe says Tony should not have done the rally.
Oh my god.
I don't like the joke, but it kills.
It didn't kill.
The joke was
hold
no. He said it kills in Maine last week, or Seattle next week, or San Francisco 2 years ago.
But it is the joke that will get you stabbed.
But wait a minute. You saw the joke. Do
Yeah.
you think the joke kills?
no, everyone went whoa.
No. That joke would kill nowhere, no time. It's not.
Okay, thank you. It's not a very funny
It's
joke.
not a funny
I
joke.
feel though it's like I saw some jokes on SNL when they used to shit on New Jersey.
Okay.
Even New Jersey is like a piece of shit, but I don't think it's like he didn't mean it. It didn't kill. It didn't kill in that thing. but-
This is what I meant to ask this, okay? As a comedian, you need to be able to like read the room, right?
yes.
What was he even thinking? Why did he think that that was possibly a good idea? Like, in what world did Tony Hinchcliffe think to himself, I'm going to go in there and do really racy comedy at this presidential...
At noon.
Why? Why doesn't he go in there and do some well-written, funny jokes? Like, I don't fucking understand.
No, he got some jokes that did work though. If you watch
like
the whole
what?
thing,
I did watch. What worked? I did. What worked?
if I kill myself in 2 weeks, I
This
didn't.
this is so stupid. None of those jokes were...
This is so. It worked. So you're at an impasse for. He had jokes. Despite that joke, he still did well.
There was like
Well, hold on,
a couple
hold on.
of people who
Wait.
laughed in the audience.
Come on.
It didn't work. There wasn't ruckus laughter coming out. What are you talking about?
I mean, it's a Trump rally. The vibe is high and positive, right? So you're gonna get like even if Like even if I went up there and did mediocre, I'd probably get some laugh.
They didn't understand what was going on.
No.
you know,
I bet
none
most of them
it-
were like, "Why is this gay guy up here? What's
none
going
of it
on?"
made
Jon
any
Stewart
sense.
defended him, so I'm with Jon Stewart.
Hold on, whoa. I'm not back up. I am defending him as a comedian. I'm not saying cancel Tony because he made a
He
bad
can do
joke.
whatever he wants. I just
All
think
I
it was a bad idea.
Absolutely.
Kumar, all I'm going
Joe
to say,
did.
all I'm going to say is like, if you're going to go after a group of people, make sure that it's really funny. Because then if those jokes hit and they're really funny, no one's saying shit.
I was with my black friends carving watermelons for Halloween. Is as corny a joke as fucking possible. Like from the guy who's supposed to be the best joke writer in
all the
Texas
land.
now, I guess. It just wasn't funny. It wasn't funny, and not only was it not funny, it just didn't make sense for the crowd.
Puerto Rico does have a garbage problem. That's part of the joke.
Look at this news reporter. This just in: Puerto Rico does have a garbage problem.
It was an epic fail, but like what I was thinking is like I was going to vote for Trump, but then this comedian made this really off-color joke, and I no longer can. I don't believe that exists. So I don't
was
think
gonna
I don't
vote.
think it's such
I
a
was
big
going to
deal as
vote
people
for
say it
Trump,
is.
but he can't even run his rallies properly. So maybe he can't run the country properly. I don't know. Maybe that's going through people's minds.
I saw the best conspiracies online that was like, this is Tony's secretly gay and this is his long con. Like get deep into the Trump thing just so you can say a fucking racist comment at
Listen,
the rally.
I'm all for Tony getting up there and doing comedy at the Trump show. I don't, it's almost like he was doing these racy jokes just to do racy jokes.
No, he is addicted.
what he does.
No, he's addicted to playing MSG. Okay, Hitler himself could come back and be like, Tony, would you do this thing at MSG for me? And he'd be like, yeah, you know what?
No, I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was just
Shane
wasn't.
Gillis was joking about how funny it would be if he does lose the election for Trump.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
He would be so like, oh my God. But
He becomes like
Kill Trumpy.
Bill Buckner of politics. Bill Buckner is the guy who missed
Yeah,
the
at first base, yeah.
just in case you didn't know.
Right.
For the Red Sox.
Joe the wordsmith was just like, you just don't have comedy and like you don't have acoustic music with jackhammers.
Yeah, good one, Joe. Don't have acoustic music with jackhammers.
You don't have anything with jackhammers for that matter. And you could have a music.
except more jackhammers and maybe a hard hat.
You could have acoustic music and dance.
You definitely got to feel a little bad for Tony, though, seeing Trump go on like 60 Minutes and be like, this shit comedian, I've never even heard. I didn't know who he was till then. Don't know who he is now. Garbage human.
But I'm sure on the phone he's like, I love you, Tony.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, or
what
something
what
like that.
fucking choice does he have? Like, you're trying to run for president, you bring on these people to make you look good at the rally, and this fucking guy decides he's just going to insult Puerto Rico, who vote for you, right? Like, I assume that Puerto Ricans vote. Do they vote? No, they don't vote.
No, well, Puerto Ricans in the States vote. If you're a Puerto Rican living in, like, if you're like a New Yorker, but yes, Puerto Rico does
Like
not have
Logan
representation.
Paul is not allowed
he does
to
not
vote because he lives in Puerto
because he
Rico,
does not
right.
pay taxes. No
Right, yes.
representation without taxation.
There you go.
Would you give up your vote as a Canadian if you did not have to pay taxes?
Yep.
And is that why Puerto Rico has such a garbage problem? Because nobody's paying taxes over there, so there's nobody to pay for the garbage trucks?
Could be it. I don't know.
That seems weird.
I'm just making this shit up. So if you want to fact check it, fact check it.
I mean, Kamar, it's a weird thing. Listen, as much as I sit here and say yes, like taxes build roads, they pay for the health care that we think is garbage. They do. Like, where do you think all the stuff we have comes from?
Oh, no, you need some taxes,
Yeah.
but we want to pay a lot less and we want to see where it's going.
Here's the thing. I don't even have to pay less if I see where it's going.
No, we have to pay less.
Hold
Our
on, hold on,
taxes
hold on.
are
You know
out
what
of
the
control.
diabolical system is, though, to have the provincial, the municipal, and the federal, is you don't know who's
Yeah.
fucking you
Simon.
You don't know which
Simon.
dick is in your ass and when.
at any time.
What if, Simon, if they showed you definitively, like, this is where your money's going, and in 10 years we'll have the deficit paid off? So in 10 years, the taxes will go down indefinitely, but for the next 10 years, and they'll show you like a breakdown, like your taxes are going to stay this level. Would you do that? Would you be okay with that?
I would.
Like if it meant a debt-free Canada for your future.
I think they should start taxing people at a higher level than they do. Like, make it like, I don't know, make up a number, 100 grand. You make 100 grand clear a year, then they start taxing you on anything over that.
I asked you guys last week. I know you still didn't listen to it. Sam Cedar on Patrick Bet David. This is the whole discussion they have. And he gets laughed out of the room by those three suit-wearing fucks.
About, that's what he said?
His thing
Make
is
it
this.
100 grand?
No, his thing was this. He said, go back to the tax rate they had in the 50s. So if you make over $3 million, every dollar,
yeah, 90%.
every dollar after $3 million is 90%. And his argument was just that no American can't live off $3 million.
It wouldn't be $3 million today.
It is. That was the
No,
rate.
he's saying
No,
with
I'm
inflation,
saying back in the
that
day
$3
with
million.
inflation, it's a bigger number now. So anybody who's making $10 million, I'm
$3
agreeing
million is
with
worth
you.
more
I'm just
today
saying it's not $3 million.
than it was in 1950s.
You know
No,
what
in
I'm
the
saying?
1950s, it was 400 grand.
Oh, I see.
I'm saying
Okay,
3 million is now the
gotcha,
level at
gotcha.
which you move it to.
You said 1950 million?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
said-
you misled us, but it's
misunderstood.
okay.
No. We misunderstood.
Sorry.
Something with a miss happened.
No, the point is just simply that, like, if you put the burden on the richest people who are actually burdening the tax system the most, like, we all subsidize, every Canadian subsidizes every major corporation in this country.
We still send money to China because they're a developing nation.
Yeah, that's fucking heinous.
It's all, no, we're helping them.
No, but either way.
That's interesting. So you can't, with the new jewels, you can't see how much juice you have.
ADD.
That's a problem, isn't it?
Real fucking problem.
Flaw in the design.
And immigration is such an interesting conversation because you have to think, for sure, there was a time when they were begging immigrants to come.
Yeah.
Right after, I don't know,
When?
my history, the Civil War, during the Civil War.
Are you talking about us or Americans?
I don't know.
I don't think we had a civil war, did we?
But
The French and the English.
But I'm
I
sure
guess.
we've always had wanting people to come here because it's such expanse. Like if you think about Gangs of New York,
Yeah.
those boats, those people getting off, they weren't breaking in. America was like, open, please come.
Well, America.
Yeah, give
it's
us your
all
tire and your
immigrants.
six.
And it still is on the legal level, but then there's this other thing.
Well, no, it was all immigrants, and then those people said no more.
Kamar, they're
No
not trying
more
to,
immigrants.
They're not trying to build anything anymore. If they were
country-
trying to,
the-
if they were
the
trying to build, if they were
railroads,
trying to build a
yeah,
high-speed
yeah.
rail, they'd be letting in. And even then, the argument for the open borders, if you read a lot of conspiracy type people, they say the open borders are both sides want it for cheap labor. Conservatives want it. Quietly, the Koch brothers want it because, again, they get cheap labor for all of their fucking.
But society then doesn't want it because we don't want a society where companies, corporations are allowed to exploit people with cheap labor.
No, we actually do want that. I got bad news for you. That's how our economy works. That's how capitalism works. The reason
Yeah, well,
we shipped everything to China was because they are cool with slavery. And we were like, if they're cool with slavery, that means everything's cheaper for us and we're clean on the hands of slavery. We don't have to, we're not slave people.
Yeah, America Senior doesn't have slave labor, but America Junior does whatever the fuck America Senior tells
Listen,
them
think
so
about
that
it.
they can keep their hands clean.
Kamar, they built their country off free labor.
And remember,
America.
I don't know if you've ever seen the video before, but it's just the bars of wealth per country.
Yep.
And China doesn't get there until like
1980.
1970 something. Yeah.
Because of our support. Or
100%.
Financial aid.
It's all American.
what if it
American
turns
money
out they
building
owe
up
us
China.
$1 million?
But how do we owe them money at this point? Not us, the Americans. You know what I mean? Like they own
They
America's
own a lot
debt.
of our debt. Too.
Well, I told
our
you,
debt
I
too?
told you last week. You're not allowed to know.
But trust me, it's China.
Okay, well, they got into censorship and they talked about the brown sugar song, which is apropos because you broke up slavery. And rap seems to be immune
To cancel culture, yeah.
to if someone's saying something in a song. I guess some rappers have been-
Rap is?
Yeah.
or songs where people say crazy
I
wild
mean,
shit.
after Eminem, he kind of like broke down, you know what I mean? He didn't break down the fence. He torched the whole city. And after that, nothing is offensive anymore. He talked about fucking
Kamar, it's also skirting
raping his own mom.
It's
you
also
know?
skirting the line. Like, you know, Chappelle has that famous joke about Lil Jon was on the radio talking about coming. It was like a #1 hit, skeet skeet. But it skirts the line because white people are like, I don't know what skeet means, so fuck it, yeah. Skeet all over me.
But the ones who did get in trouble were the ones who were talking about killings and then got arrested for it, right?
Yeah, but that's like a Bobby Shmurda thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's different. That's like a you're actually going to go to jail versus like cancel culture. Like what Kamar's saying is like that Christmas song a few years ago got canceled.
Christmas.
You know what I mean? Because it's like slightly you could.
That's a great example. Of
Whereas Nicki Minaj is out there like, lick this
WAP.
wet ass pussy. Yeah. Fuck my dick.
What
whatever.
was that song? It's cold outside.
That's the one. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They canceled
Baby,
that
it's
song.
cold outside.
Yeah.
That's the song.
So what Kamar's saying is that if that can get canceled, but then in rap they can say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, no, I was agreeing, and I think, like I said, because Eminem already like took all the.
I don't know if it was Eminem. Like you could argue like Two Live Crew.
Ghetto Boys and the Two Live Crew pushed the envelope pretty hard.
Sure, but I think the way Eminem did it in jest like that just kind of broke the whole thing. You know what
900 Feet Jesus.
After that, you just talk about whatever you want because he's already talked about everything. He's already fucked the dead moose. He's already, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what's weird though is like when you listen to Eminem's rap now, like it was all clearly like it was like bullshit storytelling. Like I'll kill my mom, and it was like no, you're not actually
Inflammatory.
Sure. Whereas like a lot of the rap you listen to now, you're like you don't know who King Von is, do you?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Rest in peace.
I watch that stupid porn star guy.
Adam 22. Yeah. So like King Von is a good example of like that dude was just a murderer. He raps. I'm not taking that away from him. But like they say he's probably rap's first serial killer, which is fucking insane.
Well, I mean, serial killer. I get what you're saying.
I know it's weird. I know what you're
Human
going to say.
trafficking.
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say like, is a mob hitman a serial killer, right?
I don't think so. Yeah, according to the definition of serial killer,
No.
but he's not. A serial
us.
killer is
Of
like
us.
a person who's like
No, but hear me out, Simon. If you're
plotting for no reason.
I think that's what King Von was. You could argue like, oh,
Or was he doing it for material?
or clout.
Content.
Like
But
even
even then-
clout is something, Matt.
so
Like
you think that
serial-
clout takes you out of the serial killer? Because I mean, a copycat killer is doing it for clout, right?
There are serial killers out there who are, yes, copycat killers are doing it for clout. There are serial killers out there who you will never know their name. They're out there
course.
killing 30, 40 women in different neighborhoods and we'll never know who they are.
Simon, I'm
because
pretty
they're
sure the
successful
most
serial
no,
killers.
even the most, you know what's ironic? I think even the most prolific
Alanis?
serial killers in the US, you still don't know their names. The ones that were caught.
For sure, 100%. Oh, that were caught.
Yeah. Like, dude, there was a black dude in Chicago.
Oh, some nurse or something like that.
His-
Nursing home.
There's a few. I remember reading the story. They found like 36 bodies rotting in his basement, and the reason they didn't go in for so long is because everyone in the neighborhood. There was an Arab bodega next to his house. And
No,
the whole-
that was Dahmer.
no, I'm telling you this.
Well, that's the exact same thing that happens in Dahmer.
Okay,
they,
well-
they don't go in because of the smell. They
No, I know,
think
but he
it's
had
the
one head
neighbors.
this guy had buried like 36 bodies in his basement.
Yeah.
And the smell was so bad that they were all like, it's the Arab bodega next door. And eventually they went in and this guy had an obscene amount of bodies. My point is like, we find out about the Dahmers. Dahmer killed, what, 7 people? Like there's people in the States that have killed 65 people and you don't know their name, which is pretty fucking crazy.
Angels of death sometimes.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
even
again,
the
I
Zodiac
don't-
killer
I-
never got caught. Like that guy, went to his grave. Might still be walking around. Who knows?
Yeah, if that guy's not the killer.
All
You
this
watch that?
No, Mary's watching it.
all this to say, Tony doesn't actually think Puerto Rico's garbage. It was a joke.
Yeah, again,
can
I'm
say
not
that
asking.
different
I'm not. Come on, I don't want Tony canceled. I think that just because you fail on a joke or a bit, or I don't find it that funny, I'm not like fuck Tony, cancel him. I don't think that.
Oh, no,
I don't think you should cancel him. I don't think that there shouldn't be comedy. I think he should have done better. Be a better comedian.
I think he's going to come out even bigger, better, like because he hasn't apologized.
I know it won't
He's
hurt.
weathered the storm.
He's weathered this before
He'll
with the
emerge
Asian
even-
thing. It's
even
fine.
bigger. Exactly.
There's no. I'm not worried about Tony. What's crazy to me is that like there's like a dude I follow who I knew in Vancouver who like listened to rap. Like you would think this guy is like me, I guess. He went on this wild rant where he was like, I've been beating up racists forever. Like, this guy Tony's a piece of shit. Like, just listening to his rant on Instagram, I was like, this is so fucking unhinged.
The opposition was worse than the person.
I mean,
the
no,
ops?
not worse. It's just
The instigator.
yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I don't know how people are so like,
We know Tony though, like we know him.
this guy does too.
And he's not a racist. Like,
No, I also know this.
he just made a bad joke.
If I'm a real Puerto Rican, I would be like, oh man, what? Fuck that. Like the Ricky Martins and the Ocasio-Cortez and the Jennifer Lopez's are feigning like,
Yeah.
whoa, wait a second. This line, okay, raping women, 34 felonies, whatever. Wait.
Look,
you said,
they're-
what about Puerto Ricans?
They're
It just doesn't wash
They're
with me.
just looking for any reason to
does
be
not
able to
wash
get
cast
against
suds.
Trump.
What?
Anything
Why
to
would
be
they
able
do
to
that?
use against Trump.
I don't believe you.
Why are you both talking over each other?
He won't stop talking. Period.
Don't you wait?
I was talking.
Okay, go
What do
ahead.
you mean?
Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, it's I'm done.
No, I asked a
fucking
redundant
done.
question and he answered before I could.
He
was
didn't
answering my
actually want the answer.
Hello. So Joe
What are you,
claims
Jack? Hello.
Joe thinks maybe possibly the Trump episode was suppressed, and it really is weird when we look at what happened last time. The sort of, I think it's called the Streisand effect. Like,
Yeah.
if people really want Trump to go away, like stop
I think
following
Jamie.
everything he does and everything.
I think Jamie Moore nailed it. More likely than not. Like, I don't think it's Google out there actively being like, because it's just too obvious. It's too big a platform. I think
Obvious to what? Like, it's not like the public's going to say, "Oh, Google's got their finger on the scale." Like Google is this.
why we already think that. My point is this, Kamar. Is
Do we think that?
Yes, we
I
do.
think most people don't think anything. They think it's almost the most biased thing in the world. Google.
I just think it's very easy for a bunch of people online.
biased, sorry, Simon.
I think it's a bunch of people online who are just like, hey, if we all go dislike this video, this is how the algorithm works. And I bet it worked. But it did work. But like we said, it's not stopping anyone. If anything, it makes it people want to go see it more.
Apparently, if you look up the interview on YouTube,
Yeah.
it will not come up.
I'm going to do it right now. We'll see.
Apparently, maybe that's in America because I can find it all the time. But I'm a preferred subscriber. Apparently,
Yeah, Kamar gets premium Pornhub, so he gets to watch all
one
the videos.
thing they brought up that we can all agree on is the
No,
DNC.
don't say that.
Okay. One thing they brought up that we can all agree
That
on.
you agree on. Yeah, go ahead.
The Democrats decide the leader, not the people. The Democratic
Yeah.
National Committee.
Yeah.
And we've
Well,
seen that.
So
We
does-
know this.
so does the-
Bernie
so
would
does
be
the
president.
Republican-
I don't know
right
how
now.
the RNC works, but we know that with Bernie,
Wait a minute. It works the same way.
Tulsi,
It works the same way. They decide.
but they brought
The
all those
people
guys
didn't decide
together,
Trump.
and Trump won.
Yeah, they all
The
decided.
RNC wanted someone else. The RNC did not want Trump to win, and somehow
Well,
he
that's interesting.
beat
Trump
them.
did. He
No,
got
you're-
the support of the people, so the party had to come around. That's
That's
true.
how it works, though.
No,
But
that's not how it worked for the
not on
liberals
other
or for
side.
the
It doesn't work that way on the other side.
for the
They're like
Democrats,
the kingmakers,
Republicans,
the
What
DNC. Yeah.
Hold on. We can't guarantee that Bernie would have gotten the
We
nomination.
can't. Logically, one would say they're
He
both
would
the
have
same.
gotten the nomination 100%.
We do
He would have
think
gotten
that.
it. I think we know that for a fact.
Hold on. We think that. I would say I agree with you guys. I think that. I can't
No,
can't sit here
we
and
know there's
guarantee that.
evidence that there were shenanigans
Yeah.
every time in the DNC for leadership. And of course, logically, the same thing happens in the RNC. I don't know what it is.
But
or when
wait,
happened for
it
who.
definitely does happen. Like I'm sure with Trump and
George
like,
Bush.
you know, or
George
sorry,
Bush.
George Bush. That's what I meant, not Trump.
Yeah.
Like
I-
it happens on both sides for sure.
That the RNC wanted George Bush to be
Well, just that
president.
you have no say in
When
who
it
is
was-
running for president.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, then
The people have no say.
then their point that the Democratic National Committee. Well,
Kamar, I'll give you
how
this.
about this? They did expose it, and that they did this with Kamala.
Yeah, I'll give you
They
this
should
one.
have had a runoff. So that's 2 in a row that
Yep.
they're guilty of it.
Well, hold on.
We know they're guilty of it.
Wait, their defense this time though is we were running Biden.
Well, that's indefensible.
Well, what does
No, no,
that
but
have
you
to?
know about
What does that
Biden.
have to do with anything?
Because if you're running the same guy, like with Obama,
Yeah.
they didn't have to go to the DNC and,
then
say we want
then
Obama
they
again.
take him
Yeah,
out,
he does. He does.
and then
You
they
do.
have a new election to see who's going to run for the DNC.
He does, and it's
they
ju-
don't
and
get
it's-
to
and-
just
and
put
it's-
Kamala in.
It's
That's
a formality.
bullshit.
It's a formality.
You're missing my point. I didn't say they just put Kamala in. What I'm saying is the reason it happened was because They didn't have time. Usually there's a Democratic National Convention like 6 months before where they go and they decide. This time, just like with Obama, they were like, we're going with the same guy again. We're all in agreement. So it's Biden. Then 2-3 months before the thing, they decide Biden, we can't run Biden. And they don't have time for it.
Well, by that logic, they could do that every single time and never have to have a Democratic election or
first off,
Republican election.
Let me say this. I think all RNC and DNCs are rigged. They know exactly who they want in. It's all a formality. All of it. I think it's all bullshit. On both sides.
All I'm saying is this time, Kamala should have had to have run against other people to be able to become the person running for president.
I know, and what you're missing my point was that they would have been finishing that up right about now.
Yeah, okay, sure.
And the argument is therefore that's not enough time.
Well, the argument is you can't give,
because now we're finding out who they're voting for president against Trump.
Let's say it's not Kamala. Let's say the DNC decides we don't want Kamala.
Yeah,
that person would have 2 weeks to mount an entire campaign.
Well, those people would have decided that they were running a long time ago. They just never got the opportunity because they said they were running Biden and then fucking backdoored Kamala in.
I'm not saying they didn't backdoor Kamala in. I'm just saying that.
No. But what I'm telling you, Matt, is there are people who already had these campaigns you're talking about waiting and ready to go against Biden and never got the chance.
That's not the campaign I'm talking about. I'm not talking about campaigning against Biden. I'm talking about campaigning against Donald fucking Trump. You need 6 months at least to fucking get a war chest together, to get all these ads together. What you're talking.
But what do you mean? Kamala didn't have that.
What do you mean? She did have that because they didn't do a DNC. This is my point, Simon. If they had done a Democratic National Convention, that would have taken months. They would have had to get all their fucking ducks in a line, and then they would have had to go ahead.
If Joe Biden was a real stand-up guy a year and a half ago, he would have put this into place. So you know what? I could be Donald Trump, but I got a couple years left. I want to see my grandchildren. Anyways, I'm going to open this up, and they run it off, and then therefore, right?
Well, I've experienced Alzheimer's. It doesn't work that way. Like you're assuming that a year and a half ago, Joe Biden was had his wits about him and knew what was going on.
I don't know if he had it when he got elected president. I'll go that far.
That's my point. So if he at that point is a puppet who has no idea what's going on and they're just puppeting him around, it's not a matter of him being like, man, I should really go spend time with my grandkids. He's fucking senile. No. He's got Alzheimer's.
I was saying that line as this is what you tell.
Sure.
As you're saying, you know what, we got to keep power here. I'm going to step down. Kamala, I'll run you like George Bush.
Listen, there's no way. If she wins, it's fucked anyway. It's all fucked. And if she wins, we're extra fucked because Trump's never going to go away. And if she wins,
I don't know.
Listen, Joe has already, I know we're going to get to it in the Fetterman episode, but Joe is already setting up that if Trump loses, this election is rigged as well.
Okay. One of the things they brought up in this is that Constantine is sure that this is now the new forum for politics going forward. Podcasts. He can't get enough of it. I don't think there'll be another medium coming down unless it was Neuralink or something.
Well, you know what? Was Kamala on any podcasts? Just Call Her Daddy, right?
Look it up. We'll be right back. That's a great question, Simon. One interesting thing is he said that he was going to have her on, but they wanted him to go somewhere and recreate the studio in a studio, I suppose.
That's what Joe said?
That's what Joe said.
There's
when
no
they asked about it.
He was never going to have Kamala on.
If he did that, though?
He made it very clear what side of the fence he falls on. And we're all listening to a right-wing podcast. That's just how it goes, man.
But isn't that...
Welcome to 2024.
You don't feel it's just the swing?
What do you mean?
Like, I don't think you've changed that much. Well, no. But what you're hearing doesn't gel or it's happened so slowly. At one time, this was a more neutral, maybe a little right podcast to the full-fledged, Daily Stormer podcast.
Well, hold on. This whole political thing on Joe Rogan started with him having liberals on.
Either way.
It was never, it was Tulsi, it was RFK, it was Bernie. The only right-wing guys he ever had on were like Dan Crenshaw and Who else? That's it.
Well, you named two right wing.
Crowder.
You named two
No, he
left
had-
wing and
he had
two right
Crowder,
wing.
No,
then he had
who's the left wing
DeFranco.
I-
He has
Who's
had a
the
lot
right
of duality.
wing I named?
Dan Crenshaw.
And
He's definitely had another fucking. Before that, he had more than.
no,
You
but
have the
everybody I
governor.
named was left. Like,
No, and I'm about to listen. Do you want me
about
to
to
go
destroy
over
someone?
5 years worth of? I'm certain there was more than Dan Crenshaw for sure.
all I'm saying is it started with him having left leaning people on in politics.
One could argue this was a left wing podcast at some point 10 years ago. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it's
Save for the cage fighting.
Look, Simon brought up Bill O'Reilly. This is now like a Rush Limbaugh, Bill O'Reilly podcast because it doesn't matter who's on. Joe is going to bring up all sorts of political shit that he feels. It's always going to come up. He's going to force his opinion on them, and I mean, listen, Kumar. If
What about-
everybody he
what
talks to, he talks about the same fucking 12 talking points all the time. It's boring.
that's a valid criticism. What about Howard Stern?
what about him?
Well, has he changed?
Yeah.
Okay, how? Like you agree less with Howard Stern now?
Well, I don't even.
You just never listen to him, so you
anymore.
can't.
Well, hold on,
can't
but there was never,
judge.
this is the thing. When I watched Howard Stern, I never, ever,
Thought
ever
about politics.
watched it for political leanings. I watched it to see what Beetlejuice had to say, or Baba Booey,
Yeah,
or
but
fucking watch who's got the smallest dick. Or
I don't watch Joe Rogan for politics. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't care about politics.
Well, no, but it's
You
just
wouldn't watch
happened that
anything.
this has infected the airways. That's not why we came here. We came here for fucking Bigfoot and aliens, you know?
yeah, unfortunately, that is
No, not, I don't mean just Bigfoot and aliens.
No,
I mean
I'm-
fun
I
things.
said yes.
None of
I-
us came here for politics. This was forced down our throat. I'm sorry. You love it, but that's not how this started. Nor the first 6 years of this podcast, there wasn't a sniff of politics on it.
Like, Kamar, think about it this way. He's in the last 2 years, he's had more right wing. Like I said this to Simon, we're leading up to an election. He has Trump and Vance on. You have Kyle Kalinski's wife. Who's the dude? Packman.
We're on before. You're thinking.
No, they have a lot of people he could have countered with it. It is his point. And who did he have on? A fucking stroke victim.
Like, here's the thing. Like,
Yeah, that's who's reading off a teleprompter.
yeah, and think about it. Like that guy who's in politics, who's on the front line, was like, "Listen, Joe, it's very hard to stuff ballot boxes. The government spends a lot of time," and you're rolling your eyes because you don't believe it.
I mean, I don't believe it. I don't believe that guy. So, but go on. It's fine.
But see, here's the thing. You don't live in the States. You've never voted there. So you have no idea how the process works. Neither do you. You can claim to, but none of us do. None of us have ever voted in the States. We don't know. All you know is that you don't need ID, which Joe has proven is not true. There's 15 states where you don't need ID. So to say across
That
the
is
board,
true. Oh, saying across the board is not true.
well, yeah, I'm just saying, if you say in the whole country, well, go ahead, Simon. What's your pushback? You're rolling your eyes at me.
I didn't roll my eyes.
So if in 15
Put a
states you
sense to Betty.
if in 15 states you don't need ID, that doesn't mean that in the whole of the country you don't need ID to vote, right?
That's true.
Okay, so Joe right away was fact checked on that. We know for a fact. I had a guy write in during the last election who was like, "Just so you know, I'm in Oregon where we have mail-in voting. We've had mail-in voting for the last 15 years." He was like, "My wife, because I was out of town, forged my signature on my vote, the vote I wanted to vote for, and it got sent back, and for fraud." And he was like, "And I could have been charged." This guy said, "We do charge people all the time for fraud." So I'll sit here and say to you, why do you have that look? Look at you.
No, I'm waiting for you to finish, and then I'm gonna
Go ahead.
retort.
Sure, let's hear it.
I just don't think this guy was the bastion of what the fuck was going on
We're
in
talking
the
about
election.
trigonometry.
So hold on, wait.
Oh no, he's talking about Fetterman.
Yeah,
Isn't
I know.
he?
I brought it up because this is on the
I'm
same
lost
shit.
now. Completely.
Listen, what's crazy to me is that so Joe Rogan, that's who we listen to. Joe has pushed down our throat that that the election was stolen and that ballot boxes. So you're taking
No, I'm just look. We all know that there's fucking shenanigans
not
that go on with the
100% legitimate
elections.
elections.
All you
That's
have
what
to
I'm
do is go back to George Bush to see that it's not a right and left thing.
I know.
It's their election system is broken.
and it's not egregious.
That I mean, I just
It's almost like
I
it's
think
a
that's
margin
the
of error.
truth.
Well, hold on. Even every election says there is a margin of error of +1 or -1%, right? And you're fine with that.
I'm fine with anything.
Their whole system is broken. Like, we just got finished talking about how they snuck Kamala in without having other people run against
Stop,
her
we're talking about
in an
ballots.
open election.
Our elections, we find out the night of when there's an election on this huge country that takes a while. I mean, there's a lot less votes to count.
It's 10% of the votes. Are you fucking nuts?
No, but
California has more
their
votes than
elections
us.
used to be decided on the night. There's a new thing that takes 3 or 4 days.
and that's when old ladies were counting the ballots.
I want to make sure you've made your point.
But I'm
that,
sorry, what are you getting so upset about? Like, you don't think there's election tampering?
You think Joe is just being inflammatory to the
Like,
election?
I'm saying for both sides.
My point, it's not a side thing. I don't give a shit about sides, left or right. My point is that we listen to this show and we have Joe push down our throats every week that definitely the ballots are
we
being
don't
stuffed.
know.
We have no fucking idea. Neither does Joe. And because Joe won't have anyone from the other side on to potentially say, like, this guy, and when he
Except
has
for
this
Joe
guy on, we're so conditioned by Joe to be like, no, they're definitely stealing, they're definitely fucking doing it, that we rate away a guy who's on the front lines like he's full of shit and he's a stroke victim, so fuck him. My point is very simple, that
I don't agree with that. I didn't get that from that.
well, as Canadians, we just don't know. We don't know. We don't know how the fucking system works. You don't know. You don't know what's in place. Do you?
No, but I do know that the George Bush election clearly had some hijinks going on. Like, we know that now. That's a fact. They have the hanging Chad. It's a whole thing. It was faulty machines. They snuck a whole bunch of votes through. That's probably how that guy got elected instead of what's his name. And then he gets in there with Rumsfeld and Veep and fucking changed the whole world. So, like, that shit happens, Matt, and it happens for both sides, and it's probably going to happen this time too. Like, and look, I think it's weird. I think it's weird the way that election went down.
Which one?
The last election.
Okay, go on.
Well, I just think it was happening during COVID. There was a lot going on. I know you're saying there's always been write-in elections, but not in every state and not in those numbers. And it was just a weird election. It was a weird time and it was a weird election.
Okay, but you're going to do this thing that Kamar does, which is like Joe Biden got the most votes of any president ever, right?
I've done that.
Yeah. And who got the second most votes of any president ever?
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
More than he had gone before.
A lot of people voted in that election.
Yeah, so a lot of people mailed in for Trump as well. So if you're going to use the mail-in thing as like this is corrupt or weird.
I mean, my only retort to that would be a lot of people wanted the change of Donald Trump. So maybe, or a lot of people didn't want him into. I don't know, man. It's I don't think that election was without its qualms. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
Probably more than any other election, frankly. Even the George Bush one.
Well, I would disagree with that.
I think that the internet was so powerful. Everything had changed. The way people were running was different. The being able to suppress information about Hunter Biden made a huge fucking difference. And we know the social media companies were doing that because he had the Facebook guy
That's different.
on
That's
who
different.
told us straight up.
We're talking about stuffing ballots right now. We're not talking about any outside.
Sure.
We're
I'm
lost
just saying
down a path
the
where we don't
whole
know how to
thing,
get out of here.
the whole thing during that time seemed very corrupt.
Okay.
Consensus.
Well, no, I just okay, go ahead, Kamar. You obviously want to move on, and when you want to move on, we move on. So go.
The bottom line is like we don't know, so we can argue about it. And I mean, you can't say there's no election fugazi.
Fetterman said there is election fugazi.
So there it is.
No, okay.
But you're saying Joe conflates it.
What I'm saying is this, is Joe makes it seem like millions upon millions of ballots are stuffed. Like dead people are voting left, right, and center. I told you last week when they brought up that Texas had taken 1 million people off the voter registry, if you just use a little bit of common sense for a minute and say to yourself, people die in Texas, probably about 1 million every fucking 4 years, and that people go and come, it's not that corrupt.
What I think is strange is if what they say is true, there's New York is going to go blue, California is going to go blue, this is going to go red, this is going to be red, and it's this like 2 million people who are sitting around who are the undecided.
I don't even think that exists.
Like, I can't believe it. There's someone sitting at the table like, I still just don't know after all the bullshit.
And the ugliest thing about this, sorry, real quick, in closing for me, the ugliest thing about this election is that when people used to try to get elected, you didn't ostracize the other side.
Yeah,
You did this thing where you were like, look, I want to be president, and you might not agree with me or all of my stances, but I want you and your family to live a better life. Now, you might not agree with how I'm going to go about it, but I would like you, whether you love me or hate me, I would like you to live a better life. I'd like you to be a happier American. It wasn't, hey, if you don't vote for me, you're a fucking piece of garbage, and I hope the worst on you. And I think both sides are so guilty of that right now. It's terrible.
We'll revisit that in the John Fetterman.
I saw a guy who predicted, though, that this was going to be the biggest blowout since, I can't remember which president, but somebody ran against, I can't even remember who, and only got 4% of the vote. So
How's that possible?
96 to 4%. That's how bad the romping was. And he thinks that's how bad the romping is going to be this time.
For Trump?
No.
For Kamala. Oh
yeah.
my God, that would be the
Like, it's just going to be blue across the board.
Civil
There's going to
War.
be 2 red states.
that would be weird.
That won't happen.
So back to we are listening to a right wing podcast. They brought up that Trump was on The View and they were just loving him. Now you have him on the
Did you see the retort, by the way, by Whoopi Goldberg?
No.
Okay, because I was going to talk about this in the post, Joe.
Oh well, they brought it up here. So hold on that. What happened there, and also when he was doing The Apprentice, where was all this? He was once the toast of the town, and everything that he's accused of happened long before he was president.
Apparently, the Apprentice thing, he was like the highest paid person on CBS or whatever, and his show was going down in the ratings. And there was another show that the host had become the highest paid on CBS, and it really stuck in Donald Trump's.
No. There's no way that's true.
So he decided that he would say he was running for president because it would
Drum
get
up.
him a ton of press, and then it would give him a bump in the ratings, and then that would give him more money.
But why was he?
if that's true, that's one of the scariest
And
things
then
I've
he
ever heard.
showed up for the first whatever,
Yeah, the press
and there
junket.
was tons of people there cheering for him, and he was like, "Oh shit, I can actually do this."
Why wasn't he taken down for tax evasion or sexual assault or all these things that happen? Like
What do you mean? Why wasn't he taken down?
all the stuff he's gone down for, save for the Stormy Daniel 34 counts, which we can't even explain because that's a weird thing. Everything else happened before The Apprentice even.
What do you mean everything else
What do
happened
you
before
say?
The
What
Apprentice?
happened?
The sexual assault he got convicted of, or civil court.
Okay.
The tax evasion.
Well, I
on
mean,
his
but
properties.
when you run for president, your whole life is open to
No,
scrutiny.
he said this is
right?
before he ran for president.
This is
There was
why
a
when he
civil
was The
sexual
Apprentice,
assault
why,
case.
why
Oh, why didn't he go down? Because nobody was. Look at Weinstein. That didn't go down until Me Too.
It's only because of Me Too that woman came out. The tax evasion is a political.
Well, tax evasion, they all evade taxes.
They all do, but he was then. It was only when he was president that decided to go after him. So that was weaponizing the
Listen,
Justice Department.
Hold on.
I think we're in agreement. Like Joe Biden should go to jail way more than Donald Trump should,
should
go,
both
to
go
jail.
to jail, though.
For that whole suppressing all that information and him doing dealings with Ukraine. Like if that's the case, he's way more guilty than Trump is.
Simon, 3/4 of Congress should probably be in jail. Nancy Pelosi should be in jail. There's like, it's insane. Listen, Kamar, you brought up why would they throw all the shade at Trump? Fetterman, a guy I've never fucking heard of, said that
no,
they.
I was saying rhetorically.
No, but they spent $100 million trying to smear this guy, a guy I've never heard of in a state that. I'm not saying no one cares of, but you know what I mean? Like
That's the main crux of when we'll discuss that one. Yeah, that is crazy. Joe finally publicly dumped on Mark Maron for better or worse.
Just called him like a little man with no friends, pretty much.
Little bitter guy that fell off.
And the way he said it was so funny. It was like, well, he used to have the #1 podcast like 20 years ago before I came around.
It's really
you know what though? I don't even feel bad. Mark Maron was such a prick for so long that karma is going to come back and bite you in the ass.
They're both doing good though. It's another universe, and I skipped it, but they talked about the Americanism that I've discussed in the past. succeed and be boisterous.
If you think,
And I'll be boisterous too, whereas here's like, do well, but don't do too well and don't flaunt it.
but if you're Mark Maron and like your whole thing, or if you're Bill Maher and your whole thing is hating Donald Trump, like I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me. Go hate Donald Trump. More power to you. Hate Kamala. Like I don't care.
You should hate them both.
It doesn't change like whether I think you're a funny comedian or not, or whether your podcast is good or not. Like I don't care. I don't care.
Well, I don't think
just don't shove it down my throat. If Joe wants to be a Donald Trump supporter, all the fucking power to him. Just don't shove it down our throats.
I mean, listen, I agree with you because I have to sit here and listen to this, but it's America. Joe has spent his life building up this massive fucking, like, think about it this way, okay? Joe isn't a billionaire that bought a media company so that he could then push right wing or anything.
sure.
Joe slowly, organically built this massive media empire. And now, as an American, he's using his right, his free
Yeah,
free
and
speech.
in a normal situation, I would say I'm moving on. I have no interest in this podcast anymore. It's not for me.
I agree.
Like, here's a perfect example. I put up with Sam Tripoli's podcast because he has guests that interest me some of the time. So I put up with the fact that he's gone totally right-wing, Jesus loving. You know what I mean? And I would do the same for Joe. Like if Joe had really interesting people on now and again, I would probably put up with the rest of the nonsense. But it's like he doesn't even do that anymore.
We also got to talk about this revolving door. These guys are on once a month now. Like,
no, time is just going faster.
Who, the trigonometry guys?
fine, once every 2 months. Like, they're literally on.
No,
yeah.
there was no new topics about. It was a very grand Hancocky.
When was the last time they were on? Do you know?
It was probably a year ago.
No, it's got to be within 6 months.
Really? Eh?
My point is just like
Well, I mean, there are only so many right-wing guys out there to talk about.
I think he brings him in to represent what's going on in Britain.
No, that's not.
Snapshot.
Joe is looking for people who agree with him.
100%. He's looking for people that are like, oh, we're in so much
can't
trouble.
believe that.
All
I
this
just can't believe
free
that.
speech is going away. Like,
Yep.
Like,
Joe
just think
doesn't
about
want to
it.
hear the opposite side of the coin, man.
I go back to it. During COVID, we had multiple, like, we might have hated COVID for what it was in the talks, but it was he tried to be balanced. Like,
So very balanced because he was getting so much criticism. You know what I mean? It was.
I'm just saying you have a plethora of, at least you could say, somewhat center or left of center pundits that you could bring on to just have the other side, just to be like, hey, Joe, maybe everything you're saying is not as like hyped up as it is. Because Joe has the hugest podcast and he's flaming a lot of weird fires, in my opinion.
It's. I think having unless his opinion is like Kamala is getting so much support from all these left-wing celebrities that it's my responsibility to bolster up the other side, which I guess I could see, because every wishy-washy celebrity out there on the other side is coming out for Kamala or whatever the hell her name is.
Yeah, but we now all know that they're child fucking weirdos, so I don't even know if that matters. Look, I saw an ad the other day for Kamala, and I think she's cooked, and this is how I knew. You know how normally in an ad there's like a weird voiceover that's like, Kamala Harris hates children. Kamala Harris wants you to die.
Yeah.
And then at the end it'll be like Donald Trump saying, I'm Donald Trump and I support this message. Kamala Harris delivers the whole thing. She's like, Donald Trump doesn't care about you. And Donald Trump does. And then at the end, she goes, I'm Kamala Harris and I support this message. And I was like, bitch, you just said it. We don't need that. We don't need that. She's done.
I think she's going to win. That would be my prediction.
Have you looked at the map?
I think she's going to win. And I think she's going to win because none of this is for real. And just when you think you have it all figured out, they figure out a way to get exactly what they want.
No, Trump will definitely get in. He has a lot of Israeli money behind him.
I think Kamala has the same Israeli money behind her. Like you
Well,
don't
first
think
of all,
you don't
Israel
think
pumps the same amount of money into both. I agree. Trump is more likely to continue on with this war for Israel. And in fact, I'll double down. Trump is more likely to stop the war in Ukraine and divert all those funds to the Middle East.
I mean, maybe I don't know.
Trump likes Putin. That's not a secret. I'm not like, there's no Steele dossier here. Trump
Oh, no,
likes
Trump
Putin and
said that
respects
he
Putin.
would have that war finished
Yeah.
in like 10 minutes. I think were his exact words.
And he didn't say anything about the Israeli war, right? That's my point.
No, he wants to blow up Iran, I'm sure, because they tried to kill him.
I mean, if you believe what Kushner said when he was on Lex,
Yeah, well, I believe nothing
they
he says.
want that war to stop too.
I don't buy that.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you what was said.
Shane Smith went broke, as we surmise on that one, and Joe throws that around now.
I think Joe kind of secretly loves that he's so rich and Shane's not anymore, you know?
That's how quickly it can switch, though.
Well, Shane was making some pretty big moves. It wasn't just like normal operations. He was trying to go against the
No, but I mean,
biggest industry out there.
the
you
journey
know?
of life. When he left that last episode, Joe was doing very well in the podcast space. He was not who he is today. Shane had just gone supernova and was
But I mean,
and now
Joe-
Shane has gone the whole gamut and come back.
Joe's not even close
With
to
the
where
podcast.
Shane was
Monetarily? you mean?
monetarily. Not even close.
I agree.
But does he not have the same potential as Vice had before? I mean, it'd be gross if Joe became a network and
I mean, I still
shows and
think
stuff.
that Vice's, I mean, that's weird. I was going to say Vice's reach is bigger than Joe's was.
It is.
it is.
was.
It is.
It
and
was.
and it had
Still is.
it had a certain amount of you watch Vice and you know this is true. I don't think Joe has that at all. I think when people see Joe's name on something, it's actually the opposite. It like takes away from its credibility.
I
Not
think
that
there's
that's true,
I think
but
there's a
that's
difference.
the impression.
I look at Joe's as an editorial, whereas you're supposed to look at Vice News as the news, right? Like they're showing you facts and there's some sort of journalistic integrity there, whereas Joe is just an opinion piece. It's an editorial. It's this is how I feel. You can feel differently. I'm an American. I'm free to express and that's it.
There's not much to take Joe down for, considering he's talked a lot. Say in the last 10 years, though.
I don't want to take Joe down.
No, egregious things he said that people are like unforgivable, be it a Sandy Hook thing or whatever. I mean, his main things are the decorticator, transports. I wanted to get to this before we wrap this up. What is the idea behind a hate speech law? Is the idea that people say mean things, and the only way we can stop that.
What hate speech law are you talking about?
Well, we have it here, and they have it in England versus the First Amendment freedom of speech in America. But that's the idea. Like, if you say something on Facebook now, the police will come to your house. I don't know if that happens here, but it's happened in
You realize
England.
there's still hate crimes in the States, right? There's no hate speech,
hate
but there's
crime.
hate crimes. That's still a thing that exists.
Yeah, I believe that. But is the idea that we will, the government will step in and control people's speech and then make the world a better place?
I think that's what they're telling us, yeah.
I'm just, what was the impetus to have a law like that?
I imagine the impetus was to make sure that nobody was talking shit about the government.
Could be.
Or I mean, I
That's
don't
probably
think
where
it's
that
rooted-
stems from.
Or I remember when we were younger, the big thing was if someone was a Holocaust denier. That was a really, I mean, it still is, but there'd be once in a while this professor or someone mentioned that it was saying this, and I think it might have stemmed from that. I think they have it in Germany, right? Do we know that?
They have what in Germany?
Well, in Germany, it's
can't-
illegal to
It's illegal. There it is.
No, you can't hold any Nazi paraphernalia. It's illegal to.
Well, and I don't think you can like publicly say good things about
you
Nazis.
can
I
own
don't
Nazi
think-
paraphernalia here, but if you were to say something or do something, that'd still be a hate crime or a hate speech.
Well,
I'm
I
not gonna
mean,
lie.
Look at the guy in Britain who made his cat do the
Yeah, Sir Dankalot or whatever.
yeah.
And even
It was a pug.
does that even sound good if someone told you that?
What?
People are saying things that are mean to other people, so we're going to make it a crime to say that if we deem that it's hateful, what they're saying.
Yeah, we're all against that, Kumar.
Well, as a country, we voted for it. We as individuals are against that, but
When did we as a country vote for it?
the Human Rights Tribunal.
When did we vote for that?
I don't think we voted like in a referendum. The Liberal government put it in power.
When?
The hate speech bill.
So you actually don't know if it was the Liberals. You have no idea when it was
No.
implemented.
If you want to get fact checking,
Well, I'm just saying, if this thing came out like 50 years ago,
Oh, this is in our lifetime.
are you certain of that? That's what I'm asking. The Human Rights Tribunal is definitely within the last 30 years.
No, I don't love that the government is putting people in jail for things they say, if that's the case. That seems a little
Bill,
egregious.
February 2024, Bill C-63, known as the Online Harms Act. So it just
That's not what you talk. That's not what you. That's not what you're talking
hate
about.
speech laws and regulate harmful online.
Yeah, that's on the
content.
internet. What about just
I said, look up the
laws?
tribunal. When did we implement the Human Rights Tribunal?
What is the point? Is when you get evidence, you're like, well, that's not the right thing.
Well, that wasn't.
Well, that wasn't the right thing.
I'm saying hate speech laws in general are stupid, and you're saying, well, who made it hate speech laws?
No, that's not what I'm saying. You said hate speech laws are stupid, and
Yeah.
I agreed with you. And then you brought up the Human Rights Tribunal, and you said we all voted for hate speech laws.
No, you were asking what's example of hate speech laws.
No, that's exactly what happened.
The Human Rights Tribunal has been in place since 1977,
Okay.
and so it was his
So,
dad who did it.
It was true. It was a true.
But my point was, none of us voted for this. No one that's alive in this room voted for a Human Rights Tribunal.
Well, the BC-63 we voted for by having a liberal government.
So are the conservatives going to repeal that law when they get into power?
If they can, I would hope so, but I don't know. Usually they don't. Like I remember they were gonna. The liberals ran on repealing the GST, and then they didn't.
Well, again, like what Simon's saying, the conservatives won't get rid of it because it probably benefits them. They'll use it. They'll weaponize it. Like, oh, you can't say shit about Pierre Poilievre online. It's hate speech.
And we all agree that doesn't work. So
Yeah.
the wrong thing to do.
Give me an example of someone being thrown in jail in Canada for hate speech. That's all I want to see.
Well, it was the guy with his, he wouldn't call his son his daughter or whatever. He got thrown in jail.
Where was that?
I think in BC or Alberta.
See, this could be one of those things though where we've misread it, where you're like, he got thrown in. Like, it's like the teacher where they were like, the teacher wouldn't call the student by their preferred pronoun, so they got fired and then they got arrested. And then Jamie digs into it and it's like, no, they were fired for that, and then they were trespassed because it is private property and you can't trespass on right. So when you keep doing it, they were like, we don't really have a choice. I get that he's making a stand and he's right to make the stand. I'm not disagreeing with that. Now everyone's fucking Googling. There is no show.
Well, I'm trying to look up the information for you. Like, we can't have it both ways.
No, you're right. And I am interested, Simon. I want to know, has someone in Canada been jailed for saying something that someone disagrees with? Because I think it's important. Like, we know Mike Ward's the perfect example. It was monetary, though. He didn't go to jail. He would have gone to jail if he didn't pay. So I guess it's the same thing. Look, Kamar, I'm all for free speech. I hate these laws. I hate.
A BC father who objects to his teenage child's gender transition therapy was arrested on Tuesday and put in jail until at least Friday for repeatedly speaking publicly about aspects of the case. The father, known as CD, has been charged with criminal contempt for allegedly violating court orders and is
different.
being held in custody until a bail hearing on Friday.
So
the
I rest
criminal
my
charge
case.
is one that, if found guilty, could see him spend as much as 5 years behind bars. The case stems from CD's battle to prevent his child, AB, as the child is known, for receiving gender transition hormone therapy. But what began
That's
as
enough. You
family
got it.
court
You got
dispute.
it.
Okay, you got it?
So I'm right.
You're right about what?
He didn't go to jail for saying that. That's not what he went to jail for.
No, but they wrap that up conveniently to still put him in jail.
Oh, I have bad news for you. They didn't wrap it up conveniently. In the States where they have free speech.
This is in Canada.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying in the States, they have the First Amendment, right? It's non-negotiable. First Amendment exists. There is no court in the States where you can just say what you want. You will be held in contempt in every court in the States. So free speech does not exist in U.S. courts. That is not a real thing.
So sorry, you're thinking that it's something he said in court?
That's exactly what it is. It's
No,
contempt
it
of
was
court.
in the public. Yeah, but
I know,
they
but
charged him with contempt of court.
yeah, because the judge said you can't go out in public and talk about this case, and he did exactly that. So again, court ordered, which that's the same in the States,
Right.
It's the exact same in the States.
If I'm not sure this was the case,
Yeah.
but let's just pretend it was
sure.
for a second. He's in there. They're telling him, you have to do this. You have to let this happen. And he's saying, this is crazy. This is my child. I want to be able to talk to the world about this.
Yeah.
And they're saying, no, you can't talk to the world about, like, why?
because it's an ongoing court case. It's the same way if you're in a lawsuit, if you're litigating with someone right now, you couldn't come on this podcast and talk about the details of this. You could if you wanted to ruin the case and you wanted to not win, but again, I know it sucks. And like what you're sitting here saying is, I get what you're saying. You're saying this guy made a stand and he's trying to make a stand and he's standing up for what's right. And I agree with you. I agree with all that. What I'm saying though is that we still, whether you like it or not, live in a country where there are laws and contempt of court is a law. And you can't just say,
no, you're right. He didn't just go to jail for saying.
He went to jail for making a stand because and again, I'm not saying he should go to jail, Simon. I'm not personally, I don't like contempt of court. I think the whole idea of court is that it's your day in court. And aside from saying fuck you to the judge, I think that's contemptible.
It's just reminding me a little bit of like the whole Menendez second trial thing. Like, we're just going to conveniently leave all of this information out, Anyways.
No, but my point, Simon, is like, this goes back to the media. And like, the media will, on both sides, will tell you it's egregious and this is what's happening. And they're both lying, right? Like the case in England, they're saying that this guy got arrested for saying he didn't. He got fired for saying that.
No, but the guy did go to jail for the Nazi thing.
Yeah, that's different. No, hold on. That's different.
Right?
That's not in our country. So I'm just talking about right now. We're trying to talk about our country. I'm just saying that until I see someone go to jail for saying something, that's when I'm really fucking concerned. That's when I'm. That's when I'm to the.
You can agree that in Britain, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, listen. The UK is fucked when it comes to their free speech laws and locking people up. And Simon, hear me out. We're probably not far behind. So it is a slippery slope. I don't like what you just told me. I think details matter. That's all.
Yeah. And again, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with this guy and his case. I'm just pointing out, or I was trying to point out, that he went to jail for that, but he didn't. So.
All my information has gone to fines, which, as Jordan Peterson has said, that eventually that would lead to jail possibly for not paying fines.
Kamar, I agree with you. Like that's what I said about Mike Ward. I said, listen, Mike Ward only got financially hurt, but like you said, if he doesn't pay the $200,000, he goes to jail, which is a roundabout way of saying you said something we don't like, you're going to go to jail.
Well, I mean, no, I think they would start like garnishing his wages and stuff.
That's the same.
I don't think he goes to jail.
You shouldn't have your wages garnished for saying something
no,
someone
but
doesn't
again,
like.
We're talking about, I don't think he would end up in jail for that. Like, if he doesn't have enough to pay that, Alex Jones isn't going to go to jail because he doesn't have $3 trillion to pay to the defendants of Sandy Hook. He's going to pay them what he can, and they're going to keep taking money from him until the day he dies, but he's not going to end up in prison.
No, but if Alex Jones made $1 billion, let's say he signed a deal tomorrow and made $1 billion and then was like, I'm not paying any of this money, then they're going to send him to jail.
Then they're going to go back to court and then it's going to be another thing. But as of now, if you have no money, there's no bleeding blood from a stone.
Listen, I'll go back to it, Kamar.
All roads lead to prison rape.
Kamar, I'm going to go back to it.
Wape. I said wape.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to it. I don't like any of this. Okay, I don't like hate speech laws. What do you mean clearly?
Well, you're very passionate about this project or discussion.
Well, no, I just think details matter. Joe does this all the time where he just says whatever someone's told him and he passes it on.
What I'm saying is this people sat around and said, we have to do this. And I think that was a complete waste of money, politicians' time and everything to think like the hubris they would have about themselves. I look at the same as climate change, that we're going to impose these laws and people are going to think twice about what they say and it's going to make a utopia. It was just a complete waste.
You know what's hilarious though is I must have heard Joe say 5,000 times about Rene DeRestra and the 23 of 25 Catholic. Who knows if that's true? I've never seen if that's true or not.
A lot of fact checking going on. It all started with Milo. If you guys remember Milo back in the day.
What all started with Milo?
Cancel culture started with Milo.
But also this the grift. He was a gay but a conservative, fast talking. Your destiny is. I mean, he's gone.
No,
he's gone buck wild.
100%. What's his name? Looked at that guy and said, like, "Oh, hold my beer."
He was sort of
what's his name? Tim
Pool.
Yeah, Tim Pool looked at him and said, "Hold my beer."
Well, Tim Pool, I think, was like watching Shane Smith lose all his money and say, I can do this better. But yeah, I mean, Milo just, and now he's crazy. He's straight. Like the machine, I think, drives anyone crazy.
I don't think he's
'Cause they're
really
all full of
straight,
shit.
though. I think that's a troll.
But do you think he was really
I
conservative?
think he was really gay.
Yeah. Well, we all
he
are
was
a little
really
bit. We're all
gay.
a little bit. Well, and even Gavin, we all miss a little Gavin. Eh? We had that one episode he was on, and he was quite inflammatory.
McInnes?
Yes. Well, he's an auto boy. We
Yeah, I know.
like him.
I mean, I'm not a huge Gavin McInnes fan, but after watching him on
It's fucking hilarious.
McCann, I have like a whole new respect for him.
Hometown boy.
I guess I'm fighting everyone then.
The thing that they talked about, which I think people should wonder, is if you really want big change to happen, you have to look at El Salvador. I don't know. They arrested.
We know, Kumar. You
everyone.
want a dictator. We know. That's what you're
Maybe
going for.
possibly.
No, not possibly. I know you want a dictator.
Let me get there.
Yeah.
Let me get there. They had to jail every
Gang member, yeah.
gang member, and now a gang spurt up in this neighborhood, and they've gone and they've fenced in the whole perimeter just to flush these guys. Like it's
I know,
if you
human
are,
rights,
It's,
you know
it's
what?
the end of it's the end of the fucking world. Human rights, but it's a drastic change, and I think no one wants that to happen here, and maybe that's why people want Kamala Harris or Trudeau. I think in our system, it won't matter who's really in charge. The big change happening, but everyone wants everything to stay the same.
No, I don't think anyone wants
Don't
anything
think
to
so?
stay the same. No.
Okay.
Right now sucks. There's no one on earth that's like, man, I really love this time. I wish it would stay this time.
No, I want them to invent a giant street Zamboni that just goes down and picks up fentanyl addicts and throws them into a giant truck and takes them away to an
And
island.
shaves them off and gives them a job.
Yeah, gives them $400 and a ticket to Alberta.
And then there's we could get into any of them, but fundamentalism as the immigration is a melting pot. You want people to come here and assimilate.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word is to not sound offensive, but not necessarily bring everything you had back home over.
First of all, if
To
you
hybrid it up.
if you left a place because it wasn't good living conditions, why the fuck would you want to bring the same shit here?
Well, it's your
If
religion.
it's your religion, usually, yeah, that's the example.
You're not going to leave your religion.
I'm not
there.
talking about religion. I'm just
Well, no,
talking
but
no,
that's
but-
what he's talking about, like Sharia law, you know?
That's extreme fundamentalism. exactly.
They're leaving there. It's a shitty place. They're coming here, but they're bringing over their Sharia law with them.
You do, yeah. So where do you divide the
How
culture
many?
you want people to bring over, like food, stuff like that, but you don't want to bring, say, authoritarian rule, which comes all the way around to Saudi Arabia is the same as China, right? But we just think of it differently because they have so much money. Like they don't have a democracy.
no.
They're just ruled, and
Well, and I don't think they have like factories making toothpaste and stuff. Is that what you mean?
I mean,
They have oil. They sell oil,
We don't
that's it.
look at them as big bad boogeymen as we do.
What are you talking about?
Russia and we do.
They beheaded a fucking.
Oh, no,
They
They
beheaded
did
a journalist.
9/11.
Oh, I've never heard.
Well, them and the Jews.
I've never heard to say a bad word about them. They just like the cartels pay off the media not to cover them, or they kill them. You have a choice there, and are thriving despite all the busts. And
They're
everything.
big and bad. I don't think they're the same as China.
But no one says Saudi Arabia is a threat. China is a threat. When we have these
No.
geopolitical discussions,
Saudi
Because
Arabia probably doesn't
Ameri-
have an army.
doesn't have an army.
And if they do, it's not anything that we should be worried about. Listen, you got to realize
But
too,
their human rights record is atrocious, and
they have the fourth largest company on earth. So it's in their best interest to not go to war. It's in their best interest to not build an army. They're just going to keep making money and building fucking 15-minute cities in the like. Come on, there is.
The idea, though, is that their army would be something like Hezbollah or some group that they're funding to do all the dirty work for them.
I'm
As
sure
you
they're doing
said,
that, yeah.
They stay
Of course,
clean because
yeah.
their oil is being sold on the
Stock exchange.
exactly. I was going to say the N.
I'm just saying, think about every country in the world, okay? Think about how many developed countries there are. If you look at the top 50 companies traded on the U.S. stock exchange, how many of them do you think are foreign?
A lot.
Top 50? No. It's dominated by American companies. But at number 4 is this fucking Saudi company, the fourth largest company in the world.
I mean, I would imagine that they probably have their tentacles in a lot of the companies you believe are American companies, you know?
They own They own 17%. When Elon bought Twitter, he put so much money in the Saudis' pockets because he bought it at a premium. They own 17% of Twitter. They probably own 17% of you fucking name it.
Yeah, so we're in agreement.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, again, they chopped off the head of a fucking journalist
On camera.
No,
And
they
then-
didn't do it on
And
camera.
then sent the video to the White House.
In their defense, he was talking shit. Do you think Iran and Saudi Arabia are enemies or friends?
I think they're friends.
They're mortal enemies.
Really?
You know, just shows how much we know.
Yeah, but what is it? The enemy, my enemy is my friend, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
They're mortal enemies.
Well, Iran
So
Shia,
Saudi Arabia must have a military then, if they're mortal
Yemeni,
enemies.
and
with-
they have some
with
stuff in
iron,
Syria.
with iron.
I actually think they have a lot of. If I had to guess, I would say the U.S. military quietly backs Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia is probably just another Israel.
Don't forget too, like you said, 9/11. Once that first plane hit, the only planes allowed to leave
yep.
the U.S. were planes carrying Saudi royals back to
and
the
listen,
Middle East.
that would make sense if you really believe that the U.S. was responsible for 9/11. Then that would make sense that they needed, somebody to do the work for them.
I don't like saying that. I don't believe the U.S. was responsible for 9/11.
You don't
could
think
say the
the-
CIA was
Well,
responsible for 9/11.
that's the U.S.
I don't do that anymore.
he doesn't do that anymore. How about this? How about this? How about this?
I don't think it is the
Whatever
government.
was in charge.
How about this?
Yep.
One of the key points Constantine brought up in this podcast was that we've reached peak woke. Is there a consensus there?
I said that weeks ago. It's past. It's done. It's over.
Or if Trump wins, does that reignite the flames of woke? Well, like which who to win the election is better for woke to
Go away.
go the way of the 8-track?
Can we back up a sec? Like, I'm anti woke, but if you really want to step back for a second, take a good look at stuff. Because of woke, we found out about Bill Cosby. We found out about Harvey Weinstein. We found out about Epstein. We found out about Diddy. Like, you could argue that without woke, we might find out about those things. I don't think we do. As odd as
I
that
think
sounds.
it's more Me Too, but
I was going to
group
say
them
Me
together.
Too and woke aren't necessarily the same
Yeah.
thing.
I don't know.
And
I think
and
so.
everything you're saying is true because of Me Too.
And I think woke is different.
Woke is different.
I don't think there is a Me Too without woke. That's what I'm saying.
You don't think there's a Me Too
Yeah,
without woke?
I think the woke movement gets women
Interesting.
into being like,
Yeah.
you know what? We can all talk out about this. Let's fucking call some people out. And next thing you know, we're
Sure.
like, holy shit.
Sure, I'll give you that.
There's a million weird rapists out there. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I'll give you that. And if you want to take one good thing from that whole debacle,
That's all I was going to say.
Be it.
That's all I was going to say was
We caught a bunch of predators.
'Cause
maybe Epstein comes out because of woke. Is that possible?
that's what I said. Epstein. Yeah.
Oh, did you say
Yeah, yeah,
Epstein?
Yeah.
I thought you said Weinstein.
And then I said Epstein, and then Diddy.
Oh, and then Diddy. There you go.
Well, Diddy's a Democrat. That's the wildest thing.
No, it has nothing to do with left or right. Simon, it just dawned on me though when I was
no,
thinking
the
about it. I was
left
like,
is
without
woke.
those, we might not catch any of these fucking weirdos.
The left is woke, the right is not.
Yeah, I
It
know.
does have something to do with it.
The right can be woke. They just have their own way of doing it.
You okay there, Kumar?
Woke and they believe in Jesus. Then at the end of this, for some reason, they brought up
Aren't those polar opposites?
which,
Woke and believing in Jesus?
well, that's right wing wokeism.
Wokeism.
Then they bring up fighting, which is just an awkward
Oh, the worst way to end this
exchange
fucking
between two
podcast.
guys who are on the cutting edge of good discussions. I like them both, and I think they are great. Like the here Tom and the big dog and little dog.
Yeah. We're friends, right, Spike?
Yeah,
Dude, if you asked ChatGPT to draw you a British person, it would draw.
Francis,
Yeah.
who's
that's-
Venezuelan? El Salvador.
Well, doesn't he look just like that big, tall comedian from,
Brian Posehn.
no, the British guy from
Stephen Merchant.
the show where they all sit around talking? Yeah, is it Stephen Merchant?
The show where they all sit around
Could
talking.
he be Chris from the Family Guy?
He did all the single ladies on that.
Oh, James Corden?
No.
Oh, I don't know who you're talking about then. Are we done with this one?
I give it a 1.
I'll give it a 2.
I'll also give it a 2.
I wish we had figured out when the last time these guys were on, though, because I'm telling you, they're on too much. That's just my opinion. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to pay a bill. And we will be right
I wrote
back.
in big, tall British comedian, and that's what came up.
Which one? Stephen Merchant?
This guy.
There's 2 guys on
I
there.
pressed the button. Sorry.
Stephen
that
Merchant.
guy.
That's why I said Stephen Merchant.
that who it is?
Yeah. Co-creator of The Office.
Not even close.
We're going to take a break. We're going
Of
to
the
pay
British office?
both offices. Yeah.
Shut up, really?
Stephen Merchant. Yeah. He's rich as fuck.
Isn't he on that show with where they sit around talking about traveling? It's
Carl Pilkington.
Ricky Gervais, yeah.
Carl's
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
This guy
Yeah.
and,
And Ricky-
Ricky
yeah.
Gervais. Yeah.
Him and Ricky Gervais are writing partners. They created the Carl Pilkington thing, and they created both offices. Stephen Merchant is rich beyond your wildest dreams.
He created the other office.
Yeah.
What's his name? The short guy.
Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais.
They created both
I
offices.
knew he did the American office. You know there's an Australian office now?
Well, they created all of them. You're not talking to the mic. We're going to take a break. We're going to pay a bill.
Signed off.
I tried to, and then you started talking.
Well,
and I
I
didn't want
thought
to
you
cut people.
clicked the
I didn't
thing.
want to cut the listeners off of any
I'm
goodness
so
that you.
sorry, listeners. I never would have got up halfway through the
It's fine.
conversation. If
We
I
are
thought,
going to take a break. We are going to pay a bill, and we will be right back.
We'll be right back.
We're back. Thank you always to the Patreons, past, present, and future.
What?
And I'm sure thank you to BetterHelp.
What? Better
Come on.
help. What?
Come on, name and a number.
222, John Fetterman.
John Fetterman. What? I've been saving this joke for so long now.
Yeah.
It's ironic.
Yeah.
No, sorry. It seems like they had the retarded Jesse Ventura on,
Jesus.
Of all the people,
which is ironic because I thought Jesse Ventura was the retarded Jesse Ventura.
Hi-oh.
Ayo.
but without a stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
He
yeah.
just kind of looks like him anyways, whatever.
Well, he's a very big guy,
Obviously didn't go over well.
and it would be intimidating if he was in this room right now, just standing over us. That's all I could think. Why he doesn't wear fancy clothes?
Okay.
No,
You're intimidated by his size?
you don't think if he was? Well, I don't think he'd stand up straight here. He's just a big, gentle giant guy. Mm-hmm. They start off talking about the stroke, which is really hard to listen to because it's could happen to anyone.
I just had a friend who had one.
No way.
Mike Mickelson.
His wasn't caused by the vaccine, though, I don't think.
Is that as John Fetterman's was?
No. Was John Fetterman's caused from the
I
vaccine?
believe
No.
it was before the
Yeah.
pandemic. Is he all right?
It's going to be a long recovery. He's alive, which is, I mean, that's his outlook. He's like, I'm alive. He had a stroke and ended up, he fell out of bed because he had a stroke and then laid on the floor for 8 hours
Oh, my
Jesus.
God.
until finally someone found him. And he said to me, he was like, I didn't know I had a stroke. He's like, I just spent 8 hours like trying to get back into bed. He's like, I had no idea what was going on or what happened.
Oh, my God. That is horrible.
Yeah, terrible. Two
That
kids,
is
45
horrible.
years old, pretty bad.
Stuck in a dream.
That might be because of the vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never thought of it until you said it right now, but I don't want to take it there. I feel bad for my friend who. But it's interesting because you were like, don't listen to this. You don't have to listen to it. I won't throw you under the bus. And I was like, I should listen to a bit to get a feel. I listened to the whole thing. I actually didn't think it was as bad an episode as you made it out to be.
Oh.
Well,
Are you
again,
kidding?
Simon, maybe it's because I have a friend that had a stroke, so it hit a little closer
Well,
to
yeah,
home.
for 3 seconds as they talked about it.
No,
and then
because
it
even later on in the episode, he was talking about like hanging on and like having something to like having a purpose and stuff. And I think whether you've had a stroke or not, that's like a
No, that message was definitely positive.
Simon hated it.
I thought this episode was so unnecessary.
Absolute garbaggio. But
Yeah, thank you.
But one of the things he did talk about is the amount of money
Yeah,
spent on these campaigns,
staggering.
which to your point was all vitriolic and hateful and
Yeah,
casting aspersions, where that money could actually be used in the communities that it's being used to advertise to. The argument would be, well, you'll take jobs away from marketing companies or these.
yeah, they're doing fine.
Basically,
The whole campaign machine.
basically what you're saying is the amount of money that these people spend to get the right to help the demographic that they're running
Yeah.
for, they could spend on the demographic they're running for and help.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Well, I thought what was even crazier is Joe brought up the point. Joe was like, how much money was spent on trying to take you down? And he's like, oh, I don't know, 150 million. And Joe's like, what do you make a year? And he was like, oh, like 120K a year. Like that was the real, I had never put it in that kind of perspective.
The money
That
it takes
the
to get
amount of
that.
money it takes to take down someone who's about to be making 120 grand a year, like it seems so lopsided.
Matt, the Prime Minister
I know,
of
makes like
Canada
200
makes
grand a year. Yeah,
$200,000 a year.
I know.
And it costs a lot more than that to get them there. They have the same advertising and stuff here.
No, not even close. Not even close. We have caps on it. They have no caps on it.
It's still like maybe not the amount of money that could really make a
They
difference, but it's a waste of money.
they declared they put some law through that makes it so they can spend ungodly amounts of money to run somebody for any position in government. Here, I think it's like $10,000 is the cap.
Is that?
I don't know. I made that
May-
up. I thought I had heard that somewhere at some point.
And there
Maybe
might-
take account inflation.
There must be
in there.
data that proves it works,
Of course it works.
or there wouldn't be this much money spent on it.
those smear ads, they have to work.
What's crazy is though, if you think about it, like, and I'm not saying they do or don't work. Let's assume for this argument they definitely work. Even if they definitely work, they're spending that money on getting 1%. Like we know those ads don't shift it by like 10%,
Yes,
right?
Well, I
the
don't
4
think
million
you have
people
to
that are
get
the-
much, right? It's like
No, I get it.
yeah.
It's sometimes like in the last election, all the Trump people are like, all it took was 22,000 votes in certain places. I get it. There are some elections where that 1% is the do or die. But in the elections that you see where it's like 60-40, that they're spending $100 million on nothing, literally just burning.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, in a real close election, that 1%. But who's it kidding? Because when I see those ads, like I know that the person watching it is either like, yeah, fuck Kamala Harris, or they're like, yeah, fuck Donald Trump. I don't see a fence sitter being like, I had never thought about.
Yeah, but if it's for somebody, like let's say they're running for like governor or whatever, and you don't know, I don't even know if they run for governor, Matt, but whatever.
They do.
And you don't know either person.
Yeah.
And there's an ad that comes on that says, Matt Floyd is a pedophile. This is a message from Simon Anisman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm Simon Anisman, and I endorse
approve
this
that
message.
Matt
Yeah.
Floyd is a pedophile. You're going to be at the polls and be like, well, I don't know either of these guys, but
I know this
I
guy's a
heard
pedophile.
somewhere that
Yeah.
Matt Floyd's a pedophile. No, but I think that's how fucking like
No, you might be right.
simple it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
If you don't know and you're just having this pumped through your head, and it's so funny when
there
you
another one of
watch. No, I just have the one. It's so funny when you watch those ads. Like I'll be watching a basketball game or whatever,
Yeah.
and you'll get an ad for like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it's Kamala is a weathered old boot. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And then very next ad will be another smear ad, totally different than the first one with a different insult. You know
course,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like they're doing a lot of work to get these things out
It's a massive industry.
on a network or on a medium that nobody's watching.
That few people are.
Like,
yeah.
are they doing these ads on TikTok and places like that, Instagram?
Well, they're influencers that are
Yeah,
pushing the
it's
message that are playing
different,
that way.
right? Yeah.
No, but you make a good point. You'd think on YouTube every once in a while. I guess it's because they're not long enough. But you'd think at this point in the game in 2024, they would spend a lot of money on YouTube.
I wouldn't know.
Well, I think they do, Matt, and that's why when I'm going through my feed, I get so much political.
Oh, but I guess the argument would be I'm in
Whatever,
Canada, and like you said, YouTube wouldn't even target the ads to me because there's no point. They would just want to spend the money where they know it matters.
YouTube ads.
If you're
Think about
here
it,
a
YouTube-
non-voter, it's a waste of
I don't
your,
know
your
what
attention
you're
or eyeballs.
talking about.
Okay, when you run an ad on TV, you just run it on whatever, Survivor. Okay, so you're just putting it in a time slot
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're hoping whoever sees it sees it.
Yeah.
YouTube has targeted ads. So what I'm saying is YouTube knows I'm in Canada, So YouTube isn't going to bother putting an American political
Right.
ad for me because it's a waste of ad
The
dollars.
campaign wouldn't bother.
They're going to
Precisely.
put a Loblaws ad instead.
Precisely. However, if I lived in Indiana in a swing state or something,
Yeah.
I would be probably getting hammered with those ads on YouTube. If you're American, let us know. Do you get political ads on YouTube? I'm interested.
I believe John Fetterman is a self-professed schlub. Schlub. No, okay.
Yeah, he is definitely a schlub.
He was a social worker, which makes his intent. He was in that system, saw it was sort of broken. Well, how do I fix this? And has found himself.
I feel
as a
bad
senator.
for the guy because he must have been thinking the same thing we were all thinking. Like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
on this podcast.
Yeah, right here,
Well,
right
his
now.
50-year-old son, who's probably a
What the
Trump
fuck
supporter,
am I doing here?
is excited about it. But he made the politics seem so. I mean, this is what you want all politicians to be like. Like, I don't make that much money. It's not that glamorous. It's meetings here, and then you see the other politicians who are mini rock stars like AOC or Major Taylor Greene, just trying to
Donald
balance
Trump.
up Donald Trump. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. He mentioned the movie Bulworth. Do you remember Bulworth?
I do, yeah.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It's the JRE.
That's what we're doing now?
The time has come again. For Matt and Simon to rack the brains to guess the budget in the box office. We all know they won't guess the year, and the Patreons are the real winners here at the JRE movie game. Come on, take it away, baby.
It's the movie game where Matt and Simon go head to head to find out what year a movie they may or may not have seen comes out, how much it costs to make, and how much it made at the box office. This week we're doing Bulworth because John Fetterman mentioned the political system has gotten like Bulworth.
Why don't we just do
This
like
is
Wag the
fuck-
Dog?
This is
Hold on,
fucking
hold on. Hey,
lazy.
hey, 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 hey.
man.
Suspect.
This is
It's
lazy
suspect.
shit.
Why don't we just do like Wag the Dog?
Let's do Bull Durham.
Bull Durham?
He
Yeah,
hasn't
sure.
seen Bull Durham.
Sure.
Have you seen Bull Durham?
Of course.
That's creative.
Kevin Costner,
got
the guy
it.
from
This week
Shawshank,
we're
Tim
doing Bull
Robbins.
Durham.
Got called up to the bigs, kid.
Bulworth came out in 98, by the way.
I've never heard of Bulworth in my life.
Yeah, you have. It had, don't say it,
Warren
don't say
Beatty
it.
and
God, why do you
Halle
do
Berry.
that?
Oh,
Why do you
sorry.
fucking do that?
I was Simoning you.
Ass hat. Do you have a year yet, Simon? Simon's not ready with anything. He's not even.
In 1998, I was like 19.
Why did he say 1998?
That's when Bulworth came out.
Oh,
How old were you in say that again?
18. No, 19.
In 98?
In 90, no, at 98, I was 18.
I was 15. No, how old are you right now?
I'm 49.
You're 8 years older than me? Gross.
And you look so young.
No, I look disgusting. Go fuck yourself.
okay.
Makeup. No, when you talk about the 90s, it really does sound like a Stone Age.
How so?
Well, now that we're in the 220s,
Well, I mean, it's
there was no cell phones. It was at our, we were cavemen.
no, it was the best of times. The 90s was the
It feels
last
that way.
great
It
era.
feels that way.
Simon, do you have a year ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, I said 88.
I said 83.
Way too soon.
Release date of Bull Durham, 1988. We are in play.
Well, this changes everything about my.
Okay, Simon, do you have
Starring
anything else?
Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon, Tim Robbins, Trey Wilson, Robert Wool. Tim Robbins was banging Susan
So
Sarandon.
I said it cost 16 million to make, and it grossed 81 million.
We're pretty close.
81 million.
I said it cost 10 million to make and it made 60.
I'm going to give this a win. Budget 9 million. Box office 50 million.
Oh my
Wow,
God, I
that's definitely a
won.
win.
100%. That might be my best round ever.
Best movie game
did
ever
you
'cause of
cheat again?
Simon.
This feels like one of those cheating things where you're going to tell us 2 minutes later that you
Hold on.
cheated.
Hold on. You picked the movie.
Yeah, but you might have it in your book. That's your thing.
Go nuts. Go look.
I don't know. You're acting like you've never done that before. You've done that on multiple occasions.
And I've always admitted to it.
Yeah, okay, so I was just asking if you were planning on admitting to it.
There's video evidence. You can go watch the video Tuesday when it drops. Just scrub right to this part. See if I go back a page. See if I do anything
All right,
that
I
you
won't,
deem.
but I believe you.
All right.
Not.
Speaking of the 90s,
All right, good stuff. Better than what was the first movie you wanted to do?
Give me your heart, make
Bull-
it real.
Bull
Oh, I'll
Batten?
forget about it.
Bull what? Bullworth?
Bullworth.
A satirical look at the American political system in the 90s.
I'm gonna have to look at the movie poster to see.
You know what's interesting? Do you remember the movie with Kevin Kline, Dave? You remember that movie? Mm-hmm. You remember what it was
a
about?
single president, wasn't it?
No. So the president was married, and the president had some sort of like heart attack or stroke, and they found this guy Dave, this regular single guy who looked identical to the president, and they just slid him in as the president until he got better. And Dave ended up falling in love with the president's actual wife, and he was like a charming guy.
Fucking Scouse.
Very interesting. Scouse. What does Liverpool have to do with this?
Sigourney Weaver. Oh my God, I love her.
Really? You love Sigourney
Who
Weaver,
doesn't?
eh? Bulworth. Is this Reagan on the cover? Like I've never.
No, it's
I don't
Warren Beatty.
remember this.
And
at
Halle
all.
Bailey. Halle Bailey.
And he
was-
becomes a rapper.
No, he goes to a rap show with this escort. Halle Berry is inspired by it and tries to rap out politics. It's a horrible movie.
I can 1,000% guarantee you I've never seen
I
that.
forgot to mention it.
It's a horrible movie.
But yeah, I feel like Wayne Fetterman or John Fetterman, sorry, missed the meeting on embezzlement and corruption as a senator because it seems like all the other senators are living high off the hog.
But
Yeah.
you don't want them to be embezzling stuff. So it feels like you should.
I don't care. I'd be embezzling if I was them.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about if you look at it from here, like, yeah, these people who are making these decisions are crooks, so they should have no credibility. But if I was that person, I don't think I'd be like, I mean, if it's true, then this guy is really a hero that isn't wearing cape. Seems to have a lot of.
Hold on. When Justin Trudeau stole from the Canadian taxpayers, you were very angry.
He's still stealing. So
Okay, but
what can I do? he isn't. It seems like Nancy Pelosi is scamming.
she is.
Okay, it doesn't seem like he is.
Trudeau?
Is he?
Trudeau's scamming for sure.
Yeah, and we can be upset about it. Is there anything we can do about it? Vote him out.
I don't understand this guy one bit.
I don't know where
I don't
we're
understand
at
this
here,
guy
man.
one bit.
I don't know where we're at. I'm
We
sorry.
think all politicians are conniving crooks.
Not
Yeah.
this guy.
That's all I'm trying
Is
to
that
say.
what you were trying to say?
Yeah.
Well, you took a fucking roundabout way to get
No, I didn't.
there,
I
man.
just said it, and you're like, "What?"
This is crazy. Did he say that, Matt?
I'm not doing this.
We're at odds, but did he say that?
I'm not getting involved.
Then it came down to Joe asked him, "Okay, you're president. You're president. How do you fix immigration?" He won't answer it. He goes into politician. It's like, well, there'd have to be consensus, but no one will say one thing to do, even though it's not going to happen. There's not policy. I mean, J.D. Vance did the same thing when they talk about psychedelics. We're about to get to that.
I think it was an unfair position this guy was put in. Joe was like lobbing these questions at him really quickly. He obviously needed the screen to help him. You know what I mean? I don't think it was always translating properly as to what Joe was saying.
First off, this guy's not about to be president. He didn't even ask the actual person who might be president that question. And if he did, he didn't get an answer. So I don't hold this guy to any sort of
he
special
didn't
fucking...
ask the question.
There you
A
go.
great point.
No, that is a great point. But this episode was not great. And I feel bad now.
For the joke you made
Yeah.
off the rip. Yeah.
Yeah.
He then asked him how he'd fix the economy, and he wouldn't answer that either. Because no one wants to answer these questions. At least Trump, even if it's bullshit, was like tariffs, the most beautiful world in the world. And now since then, there's been a bunch of debunking tariffs. And
What do you mean debunking tariffs? I don't understand.
he thinks tariffs will make America money on goods.
Okay.
And everyone's saying, just like they say the carbon tax, the tariffs will just be passed on to the consumer.
That's almost always true, actually,
So,
now that I think about it.
If it's
Well, no, that's
I
true.
think-
I mean, think about it. If China is shipping, let's say cars, I know they don't sell Chinese cars here, but let's say they're shipping cars here and Donald Trump says 50% tariff on all cars. They're not going to sell you that car at the same MSRP that they were going to pre 50% tariff, right?
No.
Of course not.
It's just going to become more expensive for the dealer to buy the cars, and then hence more expensive for you to buy the cars. So tariffs only hurt your own people.
Like it just dawned on
That's
me
what we think.
when
We
he
don't
was
know
when he,
anything.
when he
No,
was talking
we-
about that car plant they want to build in Mexico, and he was like, I won't let them build that. Like it's only good if they have the capacity to build those cars in the States. right?
Otherwise, you just don't have the cars.
Otherwise, you just have a shortage of cars, and you've created probably a worse problem than you had in the first place.
You've created Tesla.
But we all agree, or do we think everything's good? It could use a couple minor tweaks, but the economy, the way governments work, it's pretty good.
No, the economy.
You know we don't
Yeah.
think that. Like, why are you doing it like that? I don't like these fucking
Yeah, I know.
stupid questions.
You are a
that
politician.
you know the answers
Well, okay,
to.
so we
just
need a
to get to
dictator.
this
So
end
we
point that
need a
you want
dictator.
this consensus that everything is not good. Yes, we agree.
At the end of the day, this guy's a Democrat. He's a left, and he's not crazy. He doesn't seem like this seems like a reasonable side. I think he did it justice, even if it is the hunchback of the DNC.
I don't
find-
think he did it justice. I think, unfortunately, this was not the right guy to have
AOC.
on to fight back all the whatever you want to call it rhetoric that's been going on the past couple of weeks on this show.
Well, he was above the rhetoric.
What I just realized about Kamar is that he's the person who's like, he believes that if there was a dictator, it would be good for him. Like he believes that
For
he's,
me?
yeah, he believes that he's in a position where the dictator would be like, this guy Kamar, he's solid. Let's make the world better for him.
It might be good. It might be good. You don't know.
No, it's like the same thing. It's like whenever I see really poor people fighting for like tax breaks for the rich, I'm like, what do you care? I'm like, this doesn't help you at all. And you're
Like-
that kind of person.
Like
No.
if the dictator's a good guy,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it's not like
Yeah,
you know
of
what I
course,
mean.
yeah.
We were also discussing.
It's only a problem if the dictator's a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In some ways, you could argue China is more free than we are here.
How could you argue that?
I think drinking laws are more laxed.
What are,
in-
what
Okay,
are,
hold on,
what are
hold
some
on.
other
Let's
ways
hear
they're
another
more
one.
free
I'd
than
like-
we are?
In rural areas, there's a lot less regulation on
Yeah, for
vehicles
sure.
and stuff like that.
Sure.
Did you just hold on? In rural areas, there's a lot less regulation on vehicles.
They can drive
like, what, you
without-
drive drunk.
without
you can.
seatbelts
I don't
on.
understand what
You
the
can
fuck they're
drive
talking
anything.
about.
You can drive in the back of a truck.
The monitor state is only in the cities.
Okay.
So you can live like
Yeah.
you can wild out just outside. Of it's true.
So your argument is that a Chinese fisherman is much freer than any North American.
Yeah,
for
agreed.
sure.
sure.
Not only that, but he's wiling out 95% of the
course.
time.
What is
Yeah.
it? They don't have homeless people. They have better health care. Well, we don't know that, but we were just trying to say like
we do know that.
We could kill our homeless people too. We could start doing that.
That's not what they're doing.
if that's what
Do
they're
you
doing-
know that?
No,
Where
no.
the bodies exhibit? Do
Matt,
we know that?
Matt.
Yeah.
Granted, we don't know anything, but be it resolved.
Be it resolved.
Be it resolved.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe their society is better, and depending on where you were, maybe it would be better for you or me in that situation. Or
Remember the same people
Yeah.
who sold you the bill of goods of communism being wholly bad are the same people that sold you the bill of goods on pretty much every other lie out there.
But you can't like communism. You're religious. You're very religious.
I
all of
don't
a
think
sudden.
this is communism, but I guess it is some sort of distribution. But it's one power.
Is it, or do they just like they seem to have like businesses going over there too?
Well, the biggest thing
There are
with China
shopping
is,
centers and stuff.
with all their people, for some reason, they don't have development, invented. They have to steal everything. Why is that? I don't know. Or is that a stereotype that's given? But it seems like we don't. But Canadians do develop a lot of technology. In North America, there seems to be more of a ability for that to be fostered. I don't know.
You know what
talking
gave
out loud.
China a really bad rap was Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
That is like
Yeah, that
no.
didn't help.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
without that
We would have a much more positive
Positive
outlook on China.
outlook on China,
No, I
yeah.
couldn't agree more.
And
so I'm just saying if that is like a thing that was cooked up, which I don't think it is, but if it was,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
might change the whole way you look at China.
I like that. Stanley Kubrick built a massive set of Tiananmen Square, and the Americans brought in tanks, and they found one Asian named Benson Louis, and Benson Louis came down there with his grocery bags.
50 years ago,
Benson Louis? Why Benson Louis?
I don't know. That was always in Vancouver. That was always like the Bernard Yip and Benson Louis
50 years ago, China was on the brink.
of.
Starvation, a failing nation.
Are you making that up?
No.
How
Are
many
you
years
sure?
ago?
50 years ago.
Yeah, until they got the
And
You think they were starving 50 years ago? Or do
American
you think that was
Mao's?
Mao?
I was whatever reason was, we had to feel sorry for the Chinese people. You had to finish the food on your plate because people were starving in China.
No, it was in
Africa. It was
Japan.
Africa. What?
In my family's
Yeah.
China.
Don't
That's
be
how
such a fussy young man. Don't want no Captain Crunch. Don't want no Raisin Bran. And don't you know that other kids are starving in Japan? Just eat it.
That's
Just
how.
Weird Al. eat it. That's-
Before that, it was China.
That's fucking Weird Al. He don't
That's
lie.
how rich the Jews are. They think the Japanese are poor.
No, but that's why I always thought the Japanese were they were kids starving in Japan. No.
In any
But it
event,
was just a song.
the standard of living and I guess for some people in China has risen dramatically in a positive direction. Can we say that?
I'm not denying that. I will never.
So we have to look at things like
Since
that.
they started implementing all the slave factories.
Controls, yeah, maybe it's at the cost, and if they are, we are complicit.
100%.
Use their wares.
Come on, they have no copyright law. I can't even begin to explain
that's more freedom.
all the reasons.
That's more freedom.
No, that is.
Well, they can't steal things from each other.
What do you mean? There's no copy. They don't respect any copyright law.
So that's
in China.
more freedom. That's more freedom.
Like they can steal any American product.
You believe that there's some rule like a
I would imagine there's amongst them. There's probably I don't think it's just probably a free for all. There,
interesting.
know
You
what
think
I
that
mean?
you could be right. You think there's Chinese copyright which they respect, but
Correct.
international copyright they're like go and fuck your entire self.
Correct.
That's interesting.
That's what I think.
That's very
and I
interesting.
think we don't know because
Simon,
we don't know.
Simon, you could be right.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could be crazy. Yeah, I mean, let's just get to JD Vance.
But this just may be the lunatic you're looking for.
This was a tough podcast, but can we say in Joe's defense, he tried to get a voice on?
Yeah, I apologize.
Maybe
to,
he's the only person who would willing to go on.
To Fetterman. No, I just feel like
I give him a
Joe
4.
picked the lowest hanging fruit. Like, who can I take advantage of in this conversation to show that I'm not completely biased, but still get all my own opinions out there?
Come on, I'll just say it again. Why not bring on Crystal and Sagar? You know, they haven't been on in at
Maybe
least.
they didn't want to go on. Or is that possible in America? Everyone wants to go
Everyone wants to go on. Everyone.
on. I don't know.
Or
I
who's
give
the
it a
vice
2.
president for Kamala?
That's a fucking great question. That's a
Tim
fu-
Walz.
Who the hell's that?
Yeah, who the hell is that?
Get back in the game, guys.
Well, I don't vote down there. I don't give a shit. I hope both of them lose.
That's fair. That's fair. I wish I didn't know either.
You know what I think we should implement? I think we should implement call it non-confidence. I know we already have that, but a different non-confidence where if X amount of people don't vote,
oh yeah,
then you have 6 months to get new candidates.
Everyone's fired.
Yeah.
You're so useless. You're fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone wants that, but that's not going to happen because the people who lose their jobs have to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, 221, JD Vance in the house. What'd you know about him before this? What do you now know about him?
He wrote Hillbilly Elegy. That's all I knew about him before.
What's Hillbilly Elegy? It was a movie?
It was a book that he wrote that they turned into a film.
Really?
So he didn't write the film. I'm sure some screenplay writer adapted his book into the film, but he wrote the book, Hillbilly Elegy.
One of our friends made a point that he's like the most relatable vice president ever.
That's why I hate him.
Like he's younger than us, right? Maybe not you.
Probably close, but I think he might be a little younger than me.
So he's more tapped into like
This guy just seemed like a politician. I halfway through, I said the same thing. I was like, this guy seems relatable. He seems like someone you could vote for. And then it just dawned on me again. I was like, this is a politician trying to get elected in a federal election. Why am I believing anything this guy has to say?
I totally
4-0.
I totally got he's 40.
Yeah.
I totally got the impression that he didn't think he was going to win. That was my takeaway from this whole
Interesting.
thing. Just a couple of times he like let it slip, like if we win, you'd never hear Donald Trump say that.
No.
You know what I mean?
You know what's
That's
interesting?
loser talk.
If they do win, I'd like to, because we don't have a point of reference, but if this had happened 4 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, you would have had Mike Pence in this seat. We would have been talking about Mike Pence. At the end of the presidency, I don't know that there's two people that hated each other more.
Trump and Mike Pence. Wow. Do you believe anything?
I mean, I know that if I was Mike Pence, hearing Americans call for my beheading, I would be pretty bummed that I had ever taken the job. Maybe that's me.
I wonder if it's just charge it to the game, like when it's in politics.
No, my point is this: is if they win, I'm interested to see how their relationship builds or crumbles
Oh, okay.
over the 4 years. That's all I'm saying.
Does this seem like the most reasonable person involved in this? I guess you don't know who Tim Walz is, and I guess you don't know who Kamala Harris is, but.
And I feel like no matter who the vice president is, like after watching Veep, I think they're just totally ineffective. That job is just
But I
made
think the
to be like a
significance of
kicking,
time, I think the
punching bag.
the significance
Yeah.
of time here is that if Trump wins,
That's a good point.
this guy will be running to be president in the next election.
Not that it was no, sorry. My point was going to be the point you made earlier was a good point. That Simon, normally I would agree with you that it's just a fucking a deflector. Like they do nothing pretty much. They do whatever the president decides they're going to do. But now we live in a world where there's a chance that the president A gets shot, B becomes senile, and then this guy is the president. So it actually does matter for
that
once.
does matter, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to run. Not every vice president runs for president.
No, you're right, but he probably will. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think the interesting thing is this turn of the vice president. When we look back at Cheney and Bush W, we see a much different picture. Now, if we even back up even further to Reagan, who do we see behind him as vice
George
president?
Bush
George
Senior.
W.
Which is a whole
George
different
Senior.
idea that they're completely.
But they
puppet
hated
masters.
each other.
No, but that's his point. It's
Hated
total puppet
each
master.
other.
Just like Cheney, they got an actor to
I
come
don't
in.
care about their relationships.
I don't care about the facts.
No.
No, but hold on. His point is
One
his
second
point
we're
is very
saying they
good.
are completely useless and they're placeholders. And in other situations, we actually know
Yeah.
they were doing everything.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case with this Tim Walz and JD Vance, but
Well, hear me out.
just that observation.
If JD Vance had been the head of the CIA or the FBI or something, that would be alarm bells. Like George Bush Sr. was the head of the CIA and then became vice president to an actor who we know was bought by GE. So like,
It's either the president is the placeholder and the vice president, or the other way around.
But those
the
vi-
vice president could become the scapegoat.
Kamar, great point. Sorry.
Those vice presidents that seem to have like all that sway, the Cheneys, I don't think they want to be presidents. They're happy to be on the side pulling the strings and
I
not
think you're
getting
right.
any of the fucking blame.
Could you
or-
say who Bill Clinton's vice president was? Oh yeah, I remember now.
What's
Bill
interesting?
Clinton's vice president?
Very
it was
impactful.
It was Al,
Al
Gore.
Gore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who went on to run for president. So it does happen.
Of course it happens.
Well-
I'm just saying
well,
it doesn't happen every time. You made it seem like it was inevitability.
I believe
It
it,
happens.
would be
It's
inevitability.
almost usually inevitable. I'm going to give it to Kamar.
Especially with
I think
the
if you
way
went
this
back
guy's
historically
talking.
and looked,
Who was Obama's vice president?
Joe Biden. Yeah, like what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And who is going to be Hillary's vice president?
Who was
Going to be Hillary's vice president? Not Bernie.
No, who was going to be Hillary's
don't
vice
remember.
president? Hold on a sec. Oh, it was fuck.
I'm not going to get it. I don't remember.
I know who it was, but
Do you know, Kamar?
But no, I do not.
Oh.
It's funny. There was a skit on this. It was Tim Kaine. I just
Tim
pulled that out of my
Kaine,
ass. It
Oh,
was Tim Kaine.
I was like, you're a liar.
there was a skit last night on SNL about these people who were just freaking out about the democratic process and everything, and they brought out Tim Kaine and said, "Who is this guy?"
That's
and they didn't know who
hilarious.
it was. Like it's all feigned, but yeah, it was Tim Kaine.
it was Tim Kaine. I wasn't going to get that.
But this seems the most, like you said, to his detriment, I guess, the most relatable, down to earth human politician of them all. No.
The weird thing, I don't want to, I will forget my train of thought and then I'll forget completely. What fucked me up with this is that Trump was on 5 days before this, right? A week before, whatever, let's call it a week.
They don't talk much, it seems like.
Thank you. Because
At all?
Trump, because the message,
found out stuff
the
on
message,
this
well, the
podcast.
message I heard from Donald Trump was very much anti-regulation. Like, get rid of as much regulation as you can. And what I got from JD Vance was regulation. Am I wrong? Am I the only one that heard that?
We talked about this yesterday. They just aren't telling you it's their regulations that are going to be put in instead of the regulations they're trying to get rid of. But that's, I mean, you always want to get rid of all the shit that your predecessors leave, right?
Yeah, that's part of the problem, I think.
Well, yeah, we know it is here. Like a perfect example is the liberals get into power and they redo a building that the conservatives just redid, you know?
Yeah.
Just out of spite. I'm talking about just spending money. Don't worry about it, Kamar.
You know, Kamar, if you really think about like why everyone, the only real tangible thing that Donald Trump did during his presidency that drives the left absolutely mental is the appointments of Supreme Court justices.
And the abortion thing, no?
That's where it stems from. Other than that, name something. Name something he did that they're really that fucking pissed about.
Maybe the no wars.
No, but I'm talking about your average Democratic voter. I don't think your average Democratic voter wants to go to war. So
that'd be Raytheon and the
yeah. I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about the military
from what
industrial
I understand,
complex.
The root of the Democratic gripe is that he's just a unconscionable human being. That if anything matters in the world, someone like this should not be in that position. Regardless of common sense or anything else. It's just this guy is such a piece of shit. We are better than this. That's how they feel.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that the table that he's going to be sitting at is filled with other pieces of shit. Putin, Xi Jinping. Right? Like, we look at the world as like, well, yeah, but you got to talk to like the UK prime minister and the German prime minister or chancellor. And, you know, you got to talk to all these, like, none of those matter in reality.
I don't know how you would assess who is doing what's best for their country, because I think at the end of the day, that's what you would want the leader of your country to do. It again, this goes to one world government. Like, let's not have a boss.
And what the American or
what's good for the goose is not good for the ganders.
What they tell us is bad is what they think is bad,
and vice versa. And so,
yeah, but hold on,
you have to be on the moon seeing who's happier, which is better, which economy's thriving.
Okay, but there's problems with, like, if you're only looking out for the good of your people in your country, we've realized that, like, you can sometimes step on another country and create problems down the road that are, like, you could argue that the whole immigration issue
is American foreign policy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you could agree that 20 years ago, them doing what they thought was the best for their country sold them out 20 years down the road. There's an argument to be made for that. That's all I'm saying.
The argument to be made for that is that they should let these people seeking amnesty in.
No.
Because they caused the...
No, I'm saying that's the root. I'm not saying they should let them in. I'm saying to ignore the fact that this problem exists because of their foreign policy is kind of ignorant. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think it sounds evil when it's like no foreign intervention, like just worry about your country? Because that has a negative connotation right now.
Well, no, but I think you should certainly worry about your country first. And you shouldn't be out there fucking giving shit away willy-nilly when your country is crumbling beneath you.
Unless you're giving all that away in the form of loans and it's going to be a windfall.
Well, you know they're not doing that.
I don't know. I'm trying to justify.
Nobody's giving
why
away
someone would do
money
these
and
actions.
loans.
Simon, or Kamar, this is how we should look at it. Is a war crime taking place? If a war crime is taking place, I believe that all developed nations should intervene. Outside of that, I think you should deal with your own fucking problems. Now, I also don't think we want to see entire countries wiped off the planet, because that's also a problem. Right? Like, if Russia tomorrow just decided we're going to invade every country in Europe and it's all going to be Russia, do you think that's good or bad for us?
It'd be bad for me because I'd be wrong. I don't think they want to do that.
Bad for me.
It'd be good for Trudeau because he was right.
No, but forget the right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, do you think it's good that, like, if China just took over the world, well, you do think it's good because you want a dictator and you think China's winning and doing everything right.
I don't think anyone wants to take over the world.
I don't think so either.
And I think China has taken over the world as far as control of resources.
I don't know enough about Ukraine and Russia to have like an educated opinion on that. But I don't think like Russia's going to take Ukraine and then keep pushing forward into Europe. I don't think that's ever been part of their plan.
How do you know? Like, Finland used to be part of Russia, was it not?
I don't know. Was it?
You said that in a weird.
If it was, then it should go back to Russia, I guess. Like,
if
I'm joking.
If we're making reparations.
Was Finland part of Russia? I don't
think
know.
so. Either way, that doesn't matter. The point is, I only used Russia as an example. Like, if China tomorrow decided, like, you know what, Mongolia is ours now.
Yeah.
And then from there, they decided, like, you know what? We like Kazakhstan too. We're going to take that. I'm just using examples of countries with a lot of power that could decide.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not. I don't think it's about dominating the world. It's usually about resources. If they find out that the biggest lithium mine is in Mongolia,
or they need a port city, or
keep in mind, the Chinese aren't actually about that. The Chinese would probably just go in and give them big cash and say, let us mine the lithium, and they would make a deal with them. That's how the Chinese tend to work. The Chinese don't use an iron fist and send in.
No, they say, let us build a military base here, and we'll make you the best city you've ever seen.
And you owe us $28 billion moving forward.
I don't know about that.
Well, that's what they've been doing in Africa. They've been loaning them money at whatever. I don't care. That's how the U.S. was doing it for years too. So it's neither here nor there.
Sounds like a story from
Back to
US
JD
newspaper.
Vance. He believes she'd get the normal gay vote. That really pissed off Don Lemon. We'll see what happens at the polls. I find it's the most racist when they break down votes to gender or race, rather.
Sorry, I meant to get this in before, and I keep forgetting. Joe has the president on 3 days ago, whatever the fuck it was. No, or
ex-president, former
the guy
president,
who's running for president.
Yeah.
He asks him no questions. Okay, 0 questions.
Yep.
I can't even remember a question he asked him. Then he has this guy on, asks him all the right questions, says, how do we get big pharma out of advertising? Why didn't you ask that to Trump, a guy who could actually do something about it, instead of this ineffectual dodo?
But what if this guy is the George Bush and Dick Cheney to Trump?
You really believe that?
I feel this guy's more competent than Trump is.
I think that means nothing. This guy totally seems like a guy who's being pulled along by his tie.
Kamar, we don't have civics classes because we're not in the States, but a grade 9 civics class will teach you that. And again, I know what you're saying. Behind the scenes puppet master. It's happened once or twice. But by and large, the vice president has 0 fucking power. I get what you're saying. In a Dick Cheney situation, in a George Bush Sr., those guys seemed really nefarious. This guy doesn't.
Well, he wrote it in real time with Kamala
unless
Harris.
It's the perfect like Kaiser Soze
yeah, it's true.
disguise he's running. Yeah. I really feel like this guy is like has no idea what he's getting himself into.
Well, he's an effective talking head for Donald Trump then.
Is he?
Is he not? Like,
I don't know. Is he?
What are your criticisms of JD Vance?
Well,
Again, Kamar, my only criticism is that he seems squeaky clean and likable, and from what I've learned in my 40 years, that probably means that somewhere he's a piece of shit. I don't want that to be the case.
He seems lucid, which is more than we can say for Donald Trump or Kamala, but I don't know what Kamala's vice president is like. Is he an old fogey, or is he a guy who can talk rationally? I have no idea.
He finds ketchup spicy.
Listen, I agree with this guy that...
Is that true?
That's what he says.
Kamar, I agree with this guy that, like, Kamala Harris isn't the person you want at any foreign table, laughing, cackling away at fucking whatever the issue of the day might be. Like, I would put me up against her in a debate or speaking engagement any day of the week. And I don't speak highly of myself ever.
The second your presidential candidate goes on SNL, all is lost.
Well, Trump would go on if he was invited. You're saying
case and point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This only started happening recently.
Yeah.
Where it was like a thing. It's so bonkers. Are you the president? You're going to be the president of the United States. You're supposed to be so far above this nonsense. When they make funny, I said this, it doesn't even touch you.
I said this to you guys 3 weeks ago, and you both criticized me. I said, I don't want a president to go on Theo Vaughn's podcast. And you guys were like, no, that's the new world. This is like the new age. It's cool. I was like, I disagree. I want them, like you, I want them to be far above that. Far above that. So far above that.
I mean, the only good part about the podcast, just in defense maybe of us, is that you get to know what they're really like. You're not going to get that from Saturday Night Live. They're going on there acting, as themselves. But
what we've realized is it doesn't matter if it's a 2.5 hour podcast. You're not getting the real them either way. Go ahead, Kamar. I'm so sorry.
Trump hosted SNL twice.
Case in point, I'm saying we don't want either of them. Just because I don't like Kamala doesn't mean I like Trump. I think both of these candidates stink.
Oh, they're garbage.
Stink.
This might be the worst choice the U.S. has ever had in my
No,
lifetime.
last time
Well,
was the worst. Trump and Biden is worse than Trump and Kamala.
Well, when we say there's got to be better people than the choice we have, this seems like an interesting choice.
Like Kamala seems more competent than Biden ever did. No,
I don't know.
There was a strange technical difficulty.
or sorry, Kumar. Or maybe we just got so used to Biden looking like the drinking bird that we forget that he was he was like a normal president at some point.
I don't know if he was ever a normal
Yeah,
president.
no, I can't remember.
I think we remember him as a normal senator, but even then he was terrible fucking... He was one of those tough on crimes, lock everyone up assholes.
Well, I mean, when he started running for president, there was all the weird footage of him petting people and like he's a weirdo, right?
Yeah.
You got hairy legs. Oh no, that was Clinton.
There was a strange technical difficulty point.
Yeah.
Where it's really in and out. And then Joe even went, okay, we're back, which I thought was strange. Or, like when you get a baseball card that has a
defect.
glitch on it. Like, I wonder if I listen to it now, did they take that part out?
No, I think it was like a loose cord. I think it was nothing more than that. I know you're like, it was JD Vance, it seems, but there was no issue
that's
with
not
Trump.
what I was saying.
No, they clip episodes all the time.
This is what I'm saying. I was saying, did Jamie forget to go, oh yeah, I'll have to go back and take
No,
that out
I think the fact that they left that in there just shows you that it was like
to make it real?
not a clip out, Or you think it's to show you it was a clip out.
60
I'm
chess.
so how many D's of chess is Jamie running over there?
60 chess. You're hilarious.
It is suspect that, also back to the strange technical difficulties. At one point, Joe goes, Jamie, I told you, you got to replace that. Like you're living in this tin can when it's leaking. I don't know why I thought
he
that.
says that all the time. Yeah, Jamie, just get us some new mics already. Like it's so bad for
Yeah,
them.
I know. I bet Jamie's got a platinum card or a black card that he could probably buy 10 Teslas
The
on
fact
it.
that he's sending Jamie out to do grunt work seems egregious at this point.
I know.
Well, no,
But he's so proud of the fact that it's just the three of them working there or whatever.
He's got
But
Amazon
Give
on
the
the go.
guy a fucking break.
In Jamie's defense, he's probably smart enough where he's like outsourced that.
Of
Like he has
course.
some little Indian kid that does all the
He has two Jamies
Yeah.
working for him.
what do you think about the idea that traditionally human beings would move because of climate change?
I'm sorry, Kumar. That's how Jamie is such a fast Googler. Is he actually
he has
has
someone else doing it,
People
yeah.
in the background doing the Googling for him. Sorry, go ahead, Kumar. My bad.
What was
Yeah,
the
I
question
know.
you
It
just
was,
asked?
it was riveting.
Traditionally, because of climate change, populations would move. The land, sea straits. The climate would change and populations would move.
Apparently, they're not calling it climate change anymore.
Crisis?
No, they're changing it completely. They're abandoning climate change and they're pushing forward with pollution. Because that hits a lot more with, we all agree there's pollution. There's garbage on the ground, there's smoke in the air. We agree on that. It's the climate change and the climate change denial. That's where everything got, so they're rebranding.
But it makes more sense that we adapt to the planet. We don't try to adapt the planet.
I mean, yes, that makes more sense for sure.
And it seems suspect that Greta Thunberg is the best spokesperson. Do you think there's a younger girl in the wings that she's got her eye on? Like, will she want to live her life or just be? Will she be like Joni Mitchell?
Dude, that's so
in like 40
that's
years.
so funny. I can just see it. Like the next election cycle, they have like babies telling you about pollution.
Yeah, of course. I don't want to die, mister.
The smoke is hurting my lungs.
Oh, please don't kill me. Please, no.
He
Is that a gas cop?
How dare you? How dare you?
No.
But it's so funny to me. Like, I think it was in this episode. I don't remember when Joe starts going on like some big diatribe about how the planet's fine and they just making up all of this shit so they can sell you more stuff. That's Elon you're talking about, stupid.
Yeah.
Like, that is him. That's exactly what Tesla is. Do we need electric cars? Absolutely not. Who's making all the money from them? Elon.
I wonder if Elon now regrets electric cars. I mean, is it benefiting from the windfall of it, but sees that it was the wrong science, or as according to him thinks?
Well, if he was the real guy that he says he is,
Started making
he
gas-powered
would come
Teslas?
out against Tesla. He would be like, look, I made a mistake. I ended up doing exactly what they wanted me to do. And now I'm going against the grain. Tesla
funny.
is no more, and we are now gas.
Like
again
JD Vance was
tomorrow.
talking about, he's like they installed 8 charging machines and it cost $9 billion. And I was like, fuck, that is egregious if that's real. And then
That can't be right.
Even if it is right, then you think you're like, wait a minute, that's actually Elon's fault. There would never be a fucking electric
Yeah.
charger anywhere
Well,
if it hadn't been for Elon
Forget
Musk.
that, but that seems like the wrong.
Well, there's other
information.
companies that have jumped on.
That's
$1
billion a charging station. That can't be right.
You don't know how the government works?
No,
tracks,
that
it
can't.
tracks,
That
it
can't be
tracks.
right. That can't be right.
But Simon, I gotta, back to Elon, like the sycophants, you cannot say anything. Like my dad was here yesterday with my brother randomly. They stopped by for an hour.
Okay.
And my dad, I was like, I want to believe that Elon Musk is like the great white hope. I can't. I was like, I just think he's a
This is your
shiesty.
dad's opinion?
No, this is what I was saying to my
Okay,
dad.
okay.
My dad was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, there's the light rail thing in California. And dude, my dad got so agitated. He spent like 20 minutes. Jesus, he spent like 20
You're
minutes.
gross, man.
He spent like 20 minutes shitting all over me, being like, none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. He was like, they stopped building it because they didn't have the money. That's the only reason. And I was like, it's not. Like, I was like, Elon's not all he's fucking cracked up to be.
No.
And then my little brother was like, I think he's smarter than Einstein. And I was like, what the fuck are we doing
Well,
here?
he is got to be the.
Not smarter than Albert Einstein.
Well, I don't know how you equate that, but when we're talking about
He's never written any equations that I know of.
historically referred to people, he'll be spoken. I think
Yes,
in
as
that way.
a total
And
fucking scam.
Werner von Braun.
It's Werner.
Like
there's
as
nothing new. Nothing
as
new,
a
nothing
total scam. Nothing new. So we just won't talk about it.
We won't talk about it.
Yeah, fuck you.
He had a,
Stupid idiot. Go on with some stupid fucking point that nobody's interested in.
he had a master class in calling Kamala's husband a woman beater. I mean, I've heard. I'm not saying I know this for true, but
Yeah.
I've heard.
Is that the kind of person we want in the White House?
I thought that was really, really well done.
First of all, I don't want to be weird. If you date a African American or Latino chick, every once in a while, you're gonna have to raise a hand. That's just
Joy
the way
Rogan,
of life.
That's not good. That's
Oh, listen, the guy that said this guy looks like retarded Jesse fucking whatever. Yeah, I think we're on the same page, Simon. It's fine.
that wasn't a joke against him. It was a joke against Jesse the Body Ventura. If you understood comedy, you would understand that.
Hey, I'm out here making Tony level jokes. I don't know what you want from me.
The one point I thought is when he said, "Yeah, I learned about the effect of wind turbines in the ocean on whales from your podcast." Listen to
That's
Oh,
always
that's
that's
amazing.
a big red
Thank
flag.
you.
Big
So
red
we're
flag.
now making policy on things we heard that may or may not be true
with you
on
and my
Joe
boss.
Rogan.
And yeah, the whole thing's just idiocracy or whatever you want to call it.
It's like, I don't know a lot about healthcare, but everything I know I heard on your podcast.
You guys are both going and going, I'm going to hate this guy, but he does seem like the most even keel person.
He seemed
we've
like
heard
a
in while.
politician, very much like a politician. Every question of any substance that had to do with like how they were going to make things better, he had no answer for. He said, that all sounds great. I'm going to look into that, but just know that I have no real sway on anybody.
Trump gets reelected. He's like Surgeon General Joe Rogan.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's interesting because he said the three problems with the Democratic Party is trade, that they're all about the free trade, which you've always been sold is the best way to go. Maybe we would benefit from tariffs too. Maybe.
Hold on,
Immigration.
wait. Can I?
Immigration.
Yeah.
The government this week said, yeah, we have way too many people coming in.
Yeah.
Made a change, which I have to applaud them for doing.
Yeah.
And foreign policy, maybe it's better to help your own country first, then go out. Which would be a complete diametric pivot from
Do the
what
first
we've
one
done
again.
for the
What-
last
what was
40
the first
years.
one?
Trade, free trade.
Oh, so about the trade.
We started.
Yeah. What I was just going to say about that was I have a feeling when the free trade agreement was signed, it benefited the U.S. far more than Mexico or Canada.
I don't know.
Well, how often does the U.S. sign an agreement that's going to benefit two other trade partners more than it's like? Kamar, have you ever signed a contract? My uncle gave me the best piece of advice ever.
If the other person's
Yeah,
who
did
wrote
the other person
contract,
write it? Then
the
you're
one
getting fucked.
screwed.
Yeah, exactly. And all I'm saying is like, they might now think they don't want to trade with us because it has no advantage to them. But when they sign that, I guarantee you, if you looked at it carefully, it benefited them more than us.
Yeah, well, then we should have signed it. I think the only time I take a gripe with it is because I want free trade to be across the board. As American performers can come here and just perform and leave, I like the same for it to me, but I don't think that's the exact same fair trade. You know what I mean? Like, if they can do it, we can do it.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
So that's my selfish, but those are 3 points.
I could totally see Trump saying to Joe, you know a lot about fighting. How about you be my head of military?
Yeah. What I want to know is, where did this tips thing all of a sudden come out of? Why is this such a big ticket issue?
What's the tips
Not
thing?
taxing tips. I don't know.
I think that's specifically for Nevada. It might be
Who said that?
Trump.
both
and then
both
did it, yeah.
presidential candidates have now stated that they plan on eliminating tax on tips, which
Really?
yeah, well, again,
Well, they're obviously trying to get a certain demographic of people to vote for them. Wait staff.
yeah, I get it. I mean, I don't know, what percentage of people do you think live off tips?
Apparently a lot if they're making
guess,
it a
yeah.
fucking voting point.
I do.
No, but you don't solely live off tips.
I'd say the majority of my income is tips.
You don't paint anymore?
I do paint, but not when I'm making tips. It's one or the other.
You get tipped at that job? How does that work?
The majority of the job is gratuity.
Where do they nobody pays at those
It's
things?
On top. Whatever this costs, boom.
Oh,
there's a
I see.
gratuity.
It's a built-in thing.
Yeah, like Simon, I worked when I worked at the Amsterdam Brew
It
House.
still is. It still is.
Well, that's just your company finding some like way to not have to pay taxes on the money they pay you.
And
It's just a scam. You're getting paid by them anyways.
and I pay tax on those tips.
That's ridiculous.
What?
What they're doing to you?
No, it isn't.
It's a scam.
It's our system that we've all bought into, which I think we could drastically change.
No, that.
I get what you're saying. I
Do
get
you
it, Simon.
understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
But you don't think anyone should
They're
pay
getting-
tax on their tips?
No, that's not what I'm talking
no,
about.
he
at
definitely
all.
thinks you should pay tax on
No, that's not. I am not running for president here.
No, you're not.
But you're about to contradict yourself.
You are not on trial.
As a
yet.
president would.
You know what, dude?
Simon, you're not on trial. Listen to me.
He's throwing the white flag.
I've had enough of
Take
this.
your ball and go home.
Like you're boring me. You're making me talk about shit I don't care about, and you're acting like an asshole.
What about a Bigfoot tax? We start paying some more money.
Whoa, that would be interesting.
Wait, I have a question.
Everybody pays like $5 a year, and we definitely find out if Bigfoot exists.
Foggy memory that you had a moment where you realized that Bigfoot was intellectual property that was fair play.
What is
Fair
that
use,
even
fair
mean?
use, fair use, fair use.
Of course it
Are you
is.
following? And
I'm not
that's and you
following.
latched onto it. Okay. That could be your identity, and you weren't stepping on your toes, no copyrights, and now you've forgotten where you came from.
What is he fucking?
I have no idea. He's
talking
doing a
about?
Trump thing. He's
Yeah,
trying to weave.
this
He's
is
weaving so you
crazy.
forget.
No,
why
You're
you're-
a great
I
weaver.
remember
You're an expert
I think I
weaver.
knew you before you liked Bigfoot. That's what I think.
I've always liked Bigfoot.
I can't prove it, but I have some memory that it's
What does this have to do with
fair
tips?
use.
What does this have to do with taxing tips?
No, he was bored. He was bored, so we brought up some Bigfoot to keep him stimulated.
I don't know what the fuck
Whatever.
he's talking about. This is crazy.
We're all getting screwed one way or the other, but it's a beautiful world. I give JD Vance a 4.
Well, then you're a fucking idiot.
Well, that's not new information to anyone. And as this comes out, good luck, America.
I give
Americans.
this episode a 2.
I hope you voted by
Period.
now.
This is the thing. I give it a 3 because I like, if you compare it to the Trump episode, we learned something about JD Vance.
Well, then it's 1,000 if we're comparing it to the Trump episode.
no. I'm just saying though, like because he's a politician, I don't know if I can take anything he said at face value. He's trying to get elected.
You can't.
Okay, I'm with you there. So, but on that, I still think it was at least a better discussion than we could have hoped from most politicians. Would you maybe agree with that?
Love the guy.
You love the guy.
And it's just so weird. Like now knowing that like 3/4 of the battle is run on social media and all of these like it's
rhetoric.
then
Millions and millions of
are you
dollars.
just like getting a vice president who's with the new shit. You know what I mean? Is this just another ploy to like make sure that he covers the younger demographic? Like, is that what the vice president has always been for?
I don't know.
Because they're not always younger than the president.
I don't know.
Good question, Simon.
Either way, that's an episode. If you made it this far, incredible. Maybe, just maybe, you're willing to go one step further. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so for as little as $5 a month. Just head over to patreon.com/JREE podcast. For that $5 a month, you will get the post show, the show after show we shoot the shit. You'll also get old episodes of This Won't Age Well, the show we went back and listened to old episodes and did the same shit we do here. Moon debates, garbage, all sorts of stuff. Really, you're just trying to support the show, keep the lights on. If you like what we do here, it always helps. If you can't support, we don't mind at all. We understand tough times out there. We love you either way. Thank you for listening. We hope you have a great week. We hope you enjoy your weekend. And as usual,
this was the worst week of Joe Rogan ever, I think. That's it. Keep your eyes open.